Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordo Gambles, joined today by an absolute beauty of a panel to break down the UFC 273 card from a betting and DFS perspective. I am hyped. This is one we've been looking forward to for a while. We had the week off, we had the break, and it's time to go there and absolute rich. Super hyped to be joined by two absolute beauties today. But before we get into that, have to let everybody know, how do I put this? This is a good one. Sportsbook now available in Canada. Available to make some money. If you guys want some free promo codes, if you want to join FanDuel at all, hit me up in my DMs. I'll be happy to share with that. And you guys can get a free $100 when you sign up. I'll take that every day just to help you guys out. Another thing too, DraftKings video out on the channel. After you're done listening to these picks by these two beauties, you can go check that video out and make some money with us tonight on UFC 273. But without further ado, let's get this started. First, we got the man, the myth, the legend, returning as always off of a nice vacation, well-deserved. A guy that I met for the first time, and he is just as kind in person. LiamPicksFights. How are we doing, my friend?
My man, Gordo, I'm always happy to be joining you on the show. And I think that, we had a tough run at UFC Columbus. You were there, got a nice chance to meet in person, all that. But, man, I was fired up to get back to work and to get back on the winning track. And hopefully we'll do that this week at a big pay-per-view card, UFC 273. I was already 21 pages deep on the Korean Zombie to start this last Sunday. So, man, I'm fired up. Had a lot of thoughts, have a lot of action. So let's get some money.
Perfect, man. And I know you're here to bounce back. I'm here to bounce back as well. But someone who's looking to keep the hot streak rolling, we have an absolute beauty joining us once again in Phoenix MMA. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me back on the show. Excited for a good pay-per-view card coming up. It's been a nice 2-week break, but had a good month in April. Had a good month in March. Looking to continue that going into April. So hope to find some spots with you boys and keep it going.
Perfect. Well, like you said, we got the 2 weeks off today. I don't know if you guys seen my tweet. It is the girl's birthday. I've had a few mimosas this morning. That's the perfect way to start off a card. A noon stream, and I've already got some alcohol in me. That's how you know that things are going to have fun tonight. Liam, you missed it last week, but when I had Tim on, we had some SoundCloud rappers in the background when we were filming. So hopefully none of that today. But I say we don't waste any time. Of course, there's those 3 fights up top, the 3 that everyone are looking forward to. Maybe missing some name value, I'm going to say, on the rest of the card, but I think there's still some very, very, very exciting fights this weekend. I know we've had a couple canceled, but also a couple added like later in the week. When I was doing my tape last week, there wasn't some of the ones that there are now. Of course, we have Olynyk, who me and Liam didn't get to see live, but he's back on this one with a new opponent. So much to talk about. So again, let's not waste any more time. Let's get it started with the very, very first fight of the night. We're doing this one on a Saturday morning. I like to do that just because we're able to look at the weigh-ins. And the weigh-ins told us something about this fight in particular, and we'll talk about that in a second. First up, Julio Arce, 17-5-0 versus Daniel Santos, 10-1. Daniel Santos making his UFC debut against a vet in Julio Arce. Julio Arce, he's a guy who's been out there for a while. Last time we ran into the resurging prospect, but let's have some fun here. Let's start off. We'll kick it off to you first, Liam. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, so this is a tricky one. And the reason I say that is because, listen, Arce is a local guy. I like him. I think he's a well-schooled fighter. Definitely think he's the more experienced, more proven commodity at this point. But he also got knocked out like 5 months ago in pretty brutal fashion by Song Yadong. It's a somewhat quick turnaround. I'd like to see him take a little bit more time in between fights when you get knocked out like that. But he's also a little bit older, so he's kind of got to get moving on his career. And, I think 135 – I'm not sure how good that is for his durability. He competed at 45 as well with some mixed results, said he didn't really feel like he had the size to compete with those guys, maybe in the grappling. But, yeah, I just think that at 135, if his durability is even somewhat suspect, this guy, Daniel Willie Cat Santos, could be the guy to find that. He doesn't really throw anything conventional. He's not a very technical striker. He throws a lot of roundness in his punches, for example, but his spinning back kick to the body, I've seen him like break guys' ribs from like 6 inches away. It makes no sense. Like he's standing right next to them, throws a kick, and the guy's like huddled over at the waist. And he's done it to a few guys now. So I just don't want to get out over my skis here. I think the fight doesn't go the distance as a way to target this fight. I didn't myself, but that's because I missed the best of the number. I think it was plus 135, not plus 125. I also think that Santos KO won. You could find worse ways to put down a small bet, but yeah, for me, it's a fight I'm probably going to pass on, if not play a small shot on some violence, because both these guys could knock each other out. I don't think Santos has wonderful defense, but he's also pretty durable. He hasn't been finished. He's fought some tough guys, so I don't think he's like a typical UFC debutant. who's just an easy fade. I think he's actually going to compete and win fights in the UFC. But is he going to win his first fight in the UFC? That's a tall ask as well. So I think it's a good fight and well matched.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I did mention before breaking it down in the weigh-ins. Do you think that weigh-ins has any impact, Liam, to you before I pass it over to Phoenix?
Just marginal. I thought that Santos looked better at the weigh-in than Arce did for sure. But I mean, I do try not to read too much into that. My read was already set beforehand, which is just that either guy could win this fight by knockout. So I don't want to try and be Nostradamus here. I think they're going to exchange heavily. I just think Arce is the guy who has more damage incurred. So he could go down easily, but he's the better fighter. So he could also touch this guy up with a jab and just walk around and hurt him bad. So I think it's a good fight.
Perfect. Phoenix, do you agree on that one?
Yeah. Coming out of this fight, I kind of like Arce in this fight. I'm very tempted if the line keeps coming in on him. Like, to me, it's just, I think Arce is a pretty solid fighter overall. I think a big portion of this fight is Santos doesn't really throw straight shots, right? He's more an overhand hook kind of fighter when he comes in, which I don't really like. I think Arce is a very good defensive striker. I think he's going to see that coming all day. Kind of reminds me, not exactly, but kind of like Dana versus Chris Gutierrez, kind of like one guy who throws kind of looping shots versus a guy who has good striking defense. Kind of hard to get to him. But I think that Arce is the better technical fighter. I do think he's going to be on the back foot. I mean, Santos does put on some pretty good pressure. He likes to be the guy coming forward. So I do think that, the fight could get dicey for him. But I think with the bigger cage, I think he'll be able to stick and move. I think he's got a good counter left. He's got a very good counter left kick too that he hit a Rosa with. And, he fought that fight with a Rosa where he was on the back foot and, he was getting the better of all those exchanges. Like, he was the one landing. He was the one sticking and moving pretty efficiently. And I just think it's a really tough fight for Santos to come in on his debut. I mean, the guy's been out for, what is it, like 2 and a bit years. We kind of don't know. There's kind of limited tape on him in general. His losses are kind of him just getting, heavily grappled, which I don't think Arce is going to do. But I do think that it would kind of be smart for Arce to mix in some grappling. I mean, I think he's a black belt. He does have some good
high level.
Yeah. He's definitely got some good clinch takedowns as well. Like, if you get him in the clinch, he has some good trips. I do think Santos does have good takedown defense and a good get-up game. I think he was just getting wrestled heavy by those two guys on the regionals. But so I would like Arce to mix in some wrestling here and there. I think maybe if he gets to the back, he's got good back transitions, good rear naked chokes. But overall, the only reason I'm kind of hesitant on the Arce side is, I just think that Santos is going to try to make this fight ugly. Like, if this was like a 15-minute like kickboxing fight at kickboxing range, I think Arce is minus 400 here. But I do think Santos, gets in his face, tries to make it ugly. He's very explosive, very powerful. So, it could get dicey. I mean, he just got knocked out as well. So, 5 months ago, I mean, durability question marks. The weigh-ins doesn't overly concern me because, yeah, he looked kind of bad. But then back at the ceremonial weigh-ins, I mean, I thought he looked fine. I mean, I think he ran up to the stage. But I get the shots on Santos. It's just kind of not my style. I kind of like the vet here. He's established. He's fought very good guys in the division. He fought up a weight class too. So I don't know. I think he picks him apart. I was considering the doesn't go, but I do think Arce can pick him apart for 15 minutes with jabs, sticking and moving, just landing the better strikes, being evasive, being aware of the strikes coming back from Santos. So I'm gonna pick Arce here, but I got no action on the fight.
Perfect. Great breakdown from both you guys. I think this is a really fun fight. Doing the tape on Wiley Cat, man, he's explosive. He's fun. He does put that pressure forward. He does throw a lot of weird strikes, but it's entertaining. For me, when I was doing it, it was just, can Arce withstand that pressure? I know he was able to do that against Rosa, but I do think that Willie Cat does have more power than Rosa does. I'm just scared of that chin for Arce. If anything, I was considering playing just the inside the distance prop on Santos for a bit of change, but looking at the wins, I think that's all I needed really. I called it out earlier in the week that Santos was a live dog in my opinion. Yes, Liam?
The other one thing I just wanted to mention is I feel like people are kind of, underselling the fact that Arce has been getting knocked out more recently. It's like, especially when you're looking at this kind of guy, I know Song Yadong knocked out Marlon Moraes, but like everybody talked about Marlon Moraes has no chin. Song Yadong wasn't knocking out everybody, right? So it's like, I think the UFC has like built on the fact that he got that big knockout. They're like, all right, who else can we get him to knock out in quick succession? Marlon Moraes, he's around. So I think that was how they viewed that, but I don't think it was a foregone conclusion he was going to knock out Arce. That was a little bit concerning to me. I thought Arce could actually win that fight. I thought he was a little bit more technical than Song, but the faster, younger guy who hit a little bit harder. But granted, Song does throw straight punches, and Phoenix did mention a lot of stuff's going to be hooking around the side. But when you have that kind of kill shot, like I think he's got 3 of those spinning back kicks to his name. I don't like that, dude. I don't want to bet against that guy at chalk. So that's just me personally.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe I'm putting too much stock in the weigh-in, but Arce didn't look good. And when I'm counting on someone to be knocked out here, when I'm counting on someone's chin to be one of the Tyriek factors, him not looking good in the scale at all is kind of helping me to push me towards that edge. I did take a shot in the money line, and I did take a shot in the inside the distance at plus 425. I think that lining especially is a bit wide, the inside the distance, just because of like Arce being knocked out recently and the pressure and the kill shot, like you mentioned, that Santos does have. I think it's be fun though. Not one that's one of my most confident bets. I don't even have a full unit on the money line, but I do think it's be really fun. Hopefully that chin of Arce fails him, because Santos is also a decent dog for me on DraftKings as well, just because he does have that forward pressure. And I do think he throws volume. So I'm excited to see how it pans out. Phoenix, you have something to add?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add is I would be more inclined to take Santos if Arce didn't have such good like defensive tendencies. Like he has like a 67% on I think it's 67% striking defense, but that's not like over like one fight where he defended 80% strikes. Like he's consistently defending, like his opponents are consistently only landing 30% of their strikes on him. Like he's very defensively responsible. So it's just, yeah, he can land that kill shot, he can land that spinning back kick, but like how probable do I cap that? Because like I said, he doesn't throw straight shots. Like I feel like hook shots against a guy who's seen better strikers, who's seen power before, is just, I think he's going to be aware of that. But I if he lands, I mean, you guys are right. So that's all I wanted to add there.
The ceiling is there, and that's what I look for in DraftKings. I think this will be a really fun fight. Let's not waste any more time on this one. I think we're all in agreement on some violence to start off the card. But moving right up, we have the undefeated prospect Pierre Rodriguez 7-0 versus Kay Hansen 7-5. This is one actually I see maybe one of the mostly contested fights on Twitter this week. I think a lot of people are on each side. I did my tape early. When I saw the line, I think didn't Kay Hansen open as a favorite? I wasn't really inclined to betting that, but the more the line pushed towards a plus 110, plus 15 dog, I had to take the shot. I think recency bias is pretty live on this one, with Kay Hansen not being able to wrestle Jasmine, but that was up a weight class, much bigger fighter. Pierre Rodriguez just someone, I think I faded her on Dana White Contender Series, and yes, she won, but I think she's got holes in her game, and if anyone's going to exploit them, I think Kay Hansen has a recipe to do so. It's going to be a close one. I'm excited to see this one go down, but to me, it's just a classic striker versus grappler, and when you have the tendency to win a fight as much as you do on the ground, I'm going to take that plus money shot. Give me Kay Hansen. Did
you pass that to me? It kind of cut out a little bit.
Yeah, bro. How you doing?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is one of the fights where I don't really want anything to do with this fight, to be honest. Like to me, it's with Kay Hansen. Like I'm not really a Kay Hansen supporter. I don't really think she's that great. I don't think she does anything.
You don't have her
exceptionally well.
OnlyFans?
No, I don't. But I don't think she does anything exceptionally well. I mean, she has a good, decent jab, decent lead left hook, overhand right, body kick as well. But I don't really think that, like, the thing with her striking is it's very optically displeasing. Like she's been landing a lot of strikes, like even in the third round against Jasmine, right? To me, watching it as if watching like who won the round, like she fully outlanded Jasmine in that round, like fully, but she still lost the round on I think 2 of the scorecards. So she just doesn't throw with it. She has no power. Her strikes don't even really look like they have any impact. So I just and with her grappling, like I don't think her grappling is great, and I think the problem I find with this fight is I get the point that if Hansen can get the grappling going, she's decent on the mat, but watching the tape on Rodriguez, like I think Rodriguez, like to me, where this fight is going to be determinant is who's stronger, because I don't really know who's going to be the stronger one in there in terms of the grappling exchanges, because I've seen Pierre Rodriguez, when girls try to take her down, she just throws them off of her and she gets on top, right? And I think that could happen here. If Kay goes for a takedown, it's not good, because I don't think her wrestling is great, and Pierre just shoves her off of her. Kay can get stuck on her back. We've seen it. Like I understand that the fight against Jasmine, I don't really put too much stock into that. I mean, big flyweight, like she was just very big size difference there. But I do still think Pierre can kind of push her off of her and get on top. So, and on the feet, I think that even if Kay's outlanding her, I think Pierre is going to land strikes that are just more optically pleasing, strikes that have more of an impact. I mean, she throws decent combinations. She puts out good volume. I think her cardio is all right as well in striking fights. I mean, I only think the reason that her cardio looked a bit sus in the Contender Series fight is because she implemented so much grappling. I mean, if you look at her past fights, I mean, she can fight. I mean, she went 5 rounds and she looked fine, in with grappling and striking. So I think her cardio is fine. So to me, I slightly lean Piera, honestly, just because I do think that on the feet, I think her strikes just land with more power. I think it's competitive. I think both girls are going to land close to similar volume, but I just think Piera, at least optically, her strikes look better. Her strikes have more impact than someone like Kay Hansen. And in terms of the grappling, like I can see Kay potentially getting some grappling success, but I'm just worried that she's not strong enough. I kind of like the extra weight, to be honest, that she missed weight with. Because if she can get that grappling going, I mean, she's live. She's live for a sub. She's live for some top control. I mean, she's decent. She's decent on the mat. Um, but I'm just nervous that if she's not the stronger girl, I think Pierre looks like a hindsight pretty decent sized favorite. If she's able to just push her off, defend the takedowns, maybe mix in her own takedowns, because we've seen Kay get taken down. Like there's just been so many occasions where Kay's gone for a takedown and then just ended up on her back. Like she goes for it and she ends up on her back. And I've seen Pierre do that to girls. So that's kind of the only reason I'm kind of hesitant on Kay, but I get the dog shot. I mean, she's got 3 fights in the UFC. She's 22 years old. She's constantly going to be improving. But for me, it's a pass fight. It's just kind of I just don't know. I can't put a measure on who is stronger and who's going to get the better of the exchanges.
Fair, great breakdown. Liam, your turn. Do you agree?
Yeah, so this has been a fight where I've kind of done a full circle here, and I was on Kay Hansen early in the week, and I did mention on Twitter that I had kind of passed the boat on that. I wasn't going to play it, and I basically just feel like Phoenix hit the nail on the head in terms of how strong are these ladies compared to one another. Well, it's really hard to say, right? I did fade Kay Hansen last time out against JJ. I thought that was pretty clear size discrepancy, like 5 inches of height and reach. Is going to be uphill battle, especially if you want to clinch, if you want to grapple, if you want to get a hold of somebody. That's what Kay was doing in that fight pretty consistently. So I thought that when she was throwing strikes, she was having a little bit more success than when she was like constantly pressuring into the grappling. But with all that being said, she actually got a couple of takedowns as well. It was just that she can't hold her down. Like JJ literally swept her with a thing that's not a move. There was no move. She just like held her arm and like was big and just rolled into her. And that was that. So I do think that was a weird fight and not necessarily indicative of Hansen's total abilities, but she's young. She's kind of been bullied in this matchup before, where you look at some of her regional footage. She was having success early in some fights where she goes on to get stopped later. And it's in part because these girls are bigger, stronger, more physical, and meaner than she is down the stretch. And I think that could be a problem for her here. I do think Piera Rodriguez, it looked like she was gassing in that Contender Series opportunity. I think that was in part because of the pressure of the scenario. And on top of that, she was forced to fight on the back foot. She was pursuing a lot of reactive takedowns in that matchup. And I do think that this is a fight where she'll feel a little more comfortable on the feet. But I think that either lady could mix in the grappling here. I would be stunned if Kay Hansen isn't trying to get on top. I've heard some rumors this week. I don't like to buy too much into them, but that she's been doing very well in her own grappling scenarios in the training room. Piera Rodriguez, this is. So, yeah, I basically just felt like Kay Hansen, she would probably need to submit her to win this fight. She's not the most consistent, reliable minute winner. And for those reasons, I had to pass on it ultimately. I think that Piera Rodriguez is who I favor to win this fight. At the end of the day, I think she has a chance to win it by decision or to get a submission of her own. So, if they engage in the grappling for extended periods, either girl wins by sub. I thought was somewhat interesting, but man, it wasn't a big enough number, so I ended up passing.
Fair, man. I don't like to see you guys on the other side, but I don't mind the spot here. I think that I wouldn't play chalk for Kay Hansen, but it's a spot where I think she's coming in here. She wants to win. She was bullied last time out, and I did cash on it, but that was a completely different matchup. If that fight didn't happen, I wonder what this line is. I think that you give me the dog on someone who is more experienced. She does have the better ground game. I like me some Kay Hansen here. Phoenix has something to add?
Yeah, Liam, Piera by sub plus 1,400. Not bad.
Hey, I can't say I haven't touched it.
Ooh, all right. This isn't Lambo, but I appreciate that. No, yeah, I did play a little bit of Kay Hansen sub prop for a little bit too. I do want to see some grappling here. I do think she's smart. It's just a constant pressure because you're right. She doesn't win the most minutes, especially on the feet. So I think she does have that advantage on the ground. So let's hope it gets there. All right, moving on. third fight of the night. Uh-oh. All right, there we go. Third fight of the night, Alexei Oleinik, the boa constrictor. Not Alexa, thank you. 59-16-1, Jared Vanderaa, 12-7. I didn't get to see the boa constrictor live in person, but don't worry, gets pushed back. Sorry, I don't know that. Okay, thank you. It gets pushed back to this one right here, and I think it's a really, really fun fight. A completely different one than the Latifi one. Completely contrasting styles, and it's fun. I'm cheering for Oleinik. Of course I am. Do I want to put my hard-earned money on a 44-year-old man? Not really. So I'm just going to pass to you guys first. Liam, start her off. How do you see them going down?
Yeah, I feel gross about this one, boys, but I have a decent investment here in Jared Vanderaa. And I know that sounds,
the mountain.
A little wild, but I'll tell you why, right? I looked into this fight and I say to myself, okay, who's Alexei Oleinik beating, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't think he's beating very good fighters, right? And he did have some good moments, right? Derek Lewis, he gets him down. Derek's a big guy, right? And he's strong. Not good at jiu-jitsu, by the way. Derek is not good at jiu-jitsu. He just is good at getting back up to his feet. And he wasn't able to get up for a little bit. He's like hanging out underneath, doing his thing. And then he's like, all right, I got to explode. I got to get up. And he does the classic Derek Lewis get up. Okay. So then we look at the other guys he's been fighting. Fabricio Verdum was well past it and turned in probably the worst performance of his career in that fight. So, okay. That was in like 2017. Who else is he beating? Maurice Green? Guys, Maurice Green is one of the worst fighters in the UFC's history. It's like, come on. The guy can't fight. And on top of that, he's smoking cigarettes like on Fight Island. Like the dude is just not cut out for this. And on top of that, he lasted till the second round. He survived like half the submission attempts. I'm like, so now we're saying that Jared Vanderaa, who is a black belt, I know it's suspect, whatever. He doesn't look great against Romanov, who's like his age contemporary. Now you've got somebody who's 44 years of age, right? Well past a fighting prime, who has 70 plus fights to his name. Chael Sonnen always says it's the only thing you don't get better at by doing more of it. And yeah, it does get better fighting to a certain point, getting experience. The guy has been fighting since he was a middleweight. He's at 240 pounds now. He's suboptimal. He's well past his prime, and he has no cardio. So unless he finishes this guy in 5 minutes, I think he's going to be on the cage with both feet up, going and filter feeding like he's in a SpongeBob episode. So I don't think any of that bodes well for him. I think that he has to get this done in the first round or he's going to be shot. And I think that Jared Vanderaa, for as dumb as he is, I liked what he had to say about this fight. He said, I'm going to move around. I'm going to try and hit this guy with my jab, stay away from him, and win this fight because I need it for my career. Hey, fine. Please do that. I'm on Jared Vanderaa. I'm on him by decision at plus 600.
Okay, that's two big two big price tags in a row. I'll take that every day. I appreciate you bringing that knowledge to the Plays and Fades channel. Phoenix, are you as passionate about this fight as he is?
No. I agree with a lot of what he was saying, Liam. It's just I also like the Vanderaa by decision too. If I was gonna play it, that's how I would play this fight personally. But I'm more on this side of like I think this is a 50-50 fight personally, and I'll tell you why. I just think that Jared Vanderaa, like I do think that if you look at the fight with Romanov and you look at the fight with Spivak, I think it's quite obvious that Jared Vanderaa made improvements. Like, I get we watch the Romanov fight and we see, oh, Romanov just pounded him, took him down, pounded him. Like, no. Like, I actually don't think so. Because in that first round, Vanderaa was doing a good job getting back to his feet. He wasn't accepting bottom position. He wasn't crumbling. And Romanov, obviously, a much better wrestler than Oleinik is. Like, Romanov does that to everybody. It's only, what I find is Vandeرا's get-up game, his initial get-up game is actually pretty solid. But if he gets stuck on bottom, he's kind of stuck on bottom. Like he kind of, especially if he's gassed, like he doesn't really have much to do to get back to his feet. I thought in the Tafa fight, I thought he looked pretty decent. Good, decent jab, good kicks. I mean, he was evading strikes. I think that, if Oleinik's throwing like big punches that, Vanderaa can get out of the way of some of them. Good combinations in the pocket, good knees in the clinch too, if Oleinik wants to bring it there. So I do think Vanderaa isn't horrible. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's like the worst. And I do think he is making improvements. I went back and watched the Ferreira fight where he got subbed. And I can see the improvements because that fight didn't really look good. Like, I mean, he got subbed instantly by a triangle choke in that fight, like instantly. As soon as the fight hit the mat, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know about that. He also has a BJJ black belt. I don't really know how credentialed that BJJ black belt is. Like, I don't know what that is. I was shocked to see that. But the thing with Alexei Oleinik, if if this fight was pre-Spivak fight, like I'd be all over Vandeira. But I thought the Spivak fight, I mean, I thought he looked decent. I mean, if you look at who Alexei, like I know Liam made points to, who he's beating. I also think the guys that he's losing to are guys that like he should be losing to. Like Chris Daukaus was a match made in heaven for him. Derek Lewis, very binary fight. I mean, Derek Lewis knocks out a bunch of people. Walt Harris, much faster than him. Curtis Blades was able to just dominate him on the ground. Overeem hit him with a body kick. That was the only one where it's kind of like he maybe could have won. But all the other fights he's fighting guys that have quick hand speed. Like Alexei Oleinik versus a guy with hand speed is Alexei Oleinik getting knocked out. But in the Spivak fight, he actually won the first round. He did a decent job. He would have subbed
Spivak. Can't fight out of a paper bag, though. In fairness, on the feet, Spivak is fucking horrible. Continue.
He is pretty bad. But the thing with Vandeira is, Vandeira is a guy that kind of just like plods around. Like I don't think his movement is great, and I do think that Oleinik can hit him with some shots. But to me, it's just if Alexei Oleinik can take this guy down and control the position, like secure the position where Vandeira can't get back up to his feet. I personally think I think he's going to sub him. I think he subs him pretty quickly, to be honest. I mean, I think Vandeira's submission defense is not great, to be honest, and I haven't seen anything. The last time I saw him on the ground, besides the Romanov fight on the regionals, he got subbed instantly. So I think that if Oleinik is able to get the fight to the ground, and I actually think that, like, I know everyone likes to shit on his cardio. I mean, his cardio is pretty bad, but like the guy doesn't stop coming. He's still coming forward. Like it's a bit labored, but the guy, it's not like he's like wilting back or anything. And Vandeira's not a guy with power. I don't think Vandeira's gonna like sting him hard or anything, or like if he has him hurt, jump all over him and anything like that. So I don't know. I think it's a close fight. I think that Oleinik can actually have some decent success, on the feet. I think Vandeira has better cardio, though. I think he's the more technical guy. I think he'll land more than Oleinik. So I'm not saying like Oleinik wins a striking fight over 15 minutes, but I do think Oleinik will try to get it into the clinch. Vandeira, he's a big guy, 266 pounds, not going to be easy to take down. Oleinik did come in 20 pounds. I see a lot of like Oleinik came in like 20 pounds heavier for this one than like his last one, right?
Yeah, he's like 244 versus 228 or something.
Yeah,
but I don't know what to read into that. Like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Honestly, in terms of cardio, that's fucking horrible. But in terms of like trying to get a takedown on somebody, 40 pounds less is going to be a real obstacle.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it as well. Like, I mean, I think that's not the worst thing in the world for him. I mean, I think his win condition is wrapped up in a sub early for the most part as well. But it's just, I mean, I know Oleinik's going to try to go into the clinch. I mean, he's not a good wrestler, but I think it's just tough because I do think that if he's able to get the fight down to the ground and secure the position, which I don't know if he does because Vandeira, like I said, has a decent initial get-up game, that I do think Oleinik subs him. Like, I'm under the impression that if Oleinik takes this guy down, he subs him. Like, if Vandeira is able to defend the submission attempts, I mean, that's really good for him, but I just don't personally see it. And I do think that Oleinik will be able to walk him down and get those opportunities. So I lean Vandeira ever so slightly, but I don't have the confidence that you have him in, Liam.
Well, the last thing I was going to say is just that against Latifi, I thought it was a way different matchup, right? Latifi, I was like, this guy's not going to throw any volume back. So like maybe Oleinik wins this on the feet. Like I felt a lot more bullish in that spot where at least he's not going to have shots coming back at him. But when you're 44 years of age, I get your point that Jared has no power. And I agree. I thought he was going to knock out Andrei Arlovski last fight, and I was fucking disgusted when he didn't. But either way, I'm like, was that really a horrible like play on Vandeira? Because I did play him in that fight, and I'm like, no, like he almost beat Arlovski. I rate Arlovski as significantly better overall than somebody like Alexei Oleinik, and he looks like the much fresher guy at his age, right? Arlovski doesn't look like a 45-year-old. It absolutely looks like Oleinik's 45, and some of the looks that I've seen are just so bad that I am willing to fade him here. But I do take your point, man. If he gets him down in the first minute, I'm going to be feeling sick to my stomach and queasy. But I also think I've seen this guy lay underneath and just take hammer, and just be like, I think he's going to be a brick for a head. I don't think he's going to get put out or anything, even if he gets hit clean on the feet. So I like Vandeira to take over as the fight goes on. But by God, it doesn't feel good putting money on him.
Now, you have to cheer for Oleinik, though, especially if you don't have money on it. Like, don't you want to see one of these?
Fuck
Ezekiel
old man
chokes?
Oleinik, dude. I started reading more into this guy. This guy's like, I don't even want to, get there, but the dude was in like a pro-Russian proxy group in Ukraine. Like, what? The guy's got a sketchy past. Fuck Oleinik.
I still like the guy. I think it'd be great. Not for your bank account, but like, come on, I want Ezekiel choke. And he's gonna get on
Dude, I
anybody.
was
It's
with
probably
you. I started reading more into this guy. I swear to you, Gordo. He's got a very questionable past. That's all I'll say. But he's a great fighter, no doubt about it. But former middleweight too. Let's see how he fares against a real heavyweight like Jared.
He is facing the weakest opponent he has in a long time, though. Facing a guy in Jared Vanderaa, a guy who I try my best to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's got some question marks around him. He did beat the GOAT in Hunsucker, but I mean, other people have too. I'll say that. But at the end of the day, both these guys can beat me up, so I can't talk shit about either one of them. Actually, everybody needs to beat me up, so I can't talk shit about anybody at all.
I could run away from Olenek. I don't know about the other guy. I could run away from Olenek. He ain't catching me.
You're right. You're right. Around the cage, just 15 minutes running around. He'd tire himself out too. You could win that one. It's just one where I'm not putting money on this one from picking sides, because it could very easily be just the striking affair from distance, or it could be just Olenek taking down a guy. Even though Vanderas fought a lot better wrestlers, like he doesn't have great takedown defense, doesn't have a great ground game. On the feet, sure, he's going to win minutes, but if it gets there, if you're Olenek and you're like, okay, I got 7 minutes of gas, I got maybe even less, and I'm not winning these exchanges, where am I going to win this fight? He's going to want to take him down. I think he knows that. So I think a striker versus grappler. I think that the way that like Olenek's not winning a decision, so if you're going to bet Olenek, probably just bet him. Unless he just sits. Anyway, it's a tough one to call. I have some money on violence just because I'm looking forward for violence, but it's not one that I'm running to play even more. I'm just going to enjoy the fight. It's even one on DraftKings. I can't really like pick a side and go heavy on it because I'm cheering for Olenek, but I'm realistic, and he's 44 years old. So we're gonna sit back and we're just gonna hope for some fun. And I don't care, Liam. I'm sorry, bro. I hope you bounce back. I hope you do great, but I would love to see an Ezekiel choke. Phoenix, want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted like. I get Vandeera's gonna win minutes on the feet probably, but like let's not act like Vanderaa is like some elite level boxer here. Like I don't think he's gonna like dominate the minutes. Like I think Olenek's gonna hit him with an overhand right at times. Like Vandeera's striking defense isn't great. Like it's not like he's just gonna like dance around him. And like yeah, Spivak isn't great on the feet either, but like Spivak and Vanderaa kind of like I don't think Vanderaa is like a much better striker than Sergey Spivak. Like
Oh, he's pulling out the notebook.
Is he? Like I don't know. My point is like I don't know. Like I don't think Vanderaa is like a significantly better striker than Sergey Spivak. I think if anything they have kind of a similar style. I mean, kind of both guys are going to be being pushed back. Both guys kind of throw jabs. You know, both guys don't have a lot of power. So both guys are like not very quick in there. So I do think Olenek's actually going to hit him with some decent shots in there as well. Like I do think Vanderaa wins the minutes, wins the decision more. Like if it goes to decision, then it's probably going to be Vanderaa. But like just because it's Olenek doesn't necessarily mean that Jared Vanderaa is now a world-class boxer. Is kind of my point.
Fair play. I say move on. We talked about this one for a while now. I think it's gonna be fun. I'll cheer for Vanderaa decision for you, but come on, we want some violence here.
Absolutely. All right, next up. We're moving off this one, and the last thing on it is that fighters with a youth advantage of greater than 4 years or a reach advantage of greater than 2 inches in stand-up fights are winning at greater than 60% clip. Those are two of the most predictive things in the Fightnomics book. So just wanted to let you guys know that's part of my rationale there. And on top of that, I like some of the stylistics because people over 38 years of age, their knockout loss rate skyrockets through the roof. But even if Olenek's able to hold on, I think Vanderaa will win the decision by winning rounds 2 and 3. So that was my read. But yeah, no, Vanderaa sucks at fighting, and I don't want anybody to be confused about that. We'll fade him again.
All right, moving right along. Mickey Gal 7-4, Mike Malott 7-1-1. First things first, DraftKings give Mike Malott his Canadian flag. He's got that American flag on his DraftKings profile, and he's he trained out of the States. But I won't see him walk out with that Canadian flag. He's coming off here. He's not a very active fighter, but he's had some very, very good showings in his last fights. I mean, that Contender Series win, that was the one night Dana White Contender Series I didn't watch, and I was at the movies with the girlfriend, and I get a text, and my dad just goes, "Oh my God, that Canadian guy just something in a minute." Went back and watched it. This guy's got skills. One thing I will say about Mike Malott is a hittable guy, and we don't have enough fight tape for him to see how he faces adversity and stuff, but everything you're seeing is decent. He doesn't fight enough, though. He does get hit, so there's a lot of question marks. But I don't mind him here. Am I running to go bet him at minus 200? No, but I'm cheering for the Canadian guy, and I think he's a very sneaky GPP play on DraftKings. Liam, we'll start with you. How do you see him going down?
Yeah, so I mean, if you gave me this matchup at Pick'ems, I'm taking Mike Malott. I think that he is probably the more dangerous striker overall, and I do think that his grappling is somewhat competent. Obviously he's had some grappling matches. He's not bad. He's got dangerous submission threats. I like his guillotine. He's very opportunistic with the guillotine, especially. So I'm a guy who likes to look for that, likes to snatch that myself. So obviously, when I see guys hitting it, it brings a smile to me. And on top of that, right, I did cash him on the Contender Series as well. I had him straight. I had him in some parlays. And I thought that was a great matchup. He had like a 21-year-old guy, very green, and from Israel. I think he was a grappler himself. So he basically just hit the guy early, and the guy wanted no part of the fight. That's not what you're going to get from Mickey Gall, right? So I do think that this is a much tougher matchup. It's definitely a step up in competition. And on top of that, I do think Mickey Gall gets a lot of shit, right? I mentioned earlier on my stream this week, if you're losing via finish to Diego Sanchez, that's a problem. But I also think he's making improvements. It's not like he's a world beater. It's not like he's went from being like terrible to being an elite, but he's made gradual improvements, I would argue, over the course of his career. I think his striking is much more dangerous now than it was when he arrived in the UFC. And I do think that at plus 170 becomes an interesting number on Mickey Gall, because I don't see how Mike Malott covers this price at a huge number. The guy gets in a lot of exchanges. He gets hurt in his fights, even in the fights he wins. I think that the guy is like kind of a blood and guts fighter. He'll get out in the middle and swing in the pocket. And that's gone well for him to this point, but that could end poorly at any time. And Mickey Gall does have power in his hands. He's got a long frame. For 170, I think he cracks people pretty hard with the straights. But the longer the fight goes, it becomes a crapshoot, in my opinion. Mike Malott, he's just not proven to go 15 minutes. The guy's got very limited fight tape over the last several years. And on top of that, the footage that you can find is at 145. It's like now he's at 170 against a pretty fairly sized 170 pounder, I would argue, in Mickey Gall. So I don't think that this is a walkover. I don't think that Mickey Gall is like some punk that's just going to give this fight to him. I do think Mickey could gas and lose this fight down the stretch, but I also think that either one of these guys can win the fight in the first round. I don't think that this fight goes to decision more often than not, but I would say this: if the fight goes over 1.5, I do think it's going to go to decision. I do think it's going to be sloppy as all shit. Because I think they're both going to be gassed. I think they're both going to be hanging on to each other and getting into grappling exchanges, and maybe Malott's able to get on top. I heard that argument this week. He is probably a little bit stronger. Maybe we'll be able to carry that, that cardio a little bit longer. But boy, I don't want to bank on that. Having not seen it, Mickey Gall, for whatever you could say about him, did just go the 15 minutes, going against BJJ black belts, going against guys that have been in the UFC. He's derailed a couple hype prospects in the past, Sage Northcutt. Obviously CM Punk wasn't a hype prospect, but he was brought in as the B-side there and was able to get the win as well. So I think Mickey Gall, he might have a chance to win this fight. I did play him on the money line at plus 170.
Fair. No Canadian bias. I think it's a close one, but maybe it's just because visually I have seen holes in Gall's game, or I haven't seen the same holes in Malott, that may be due to just the lack of fight tape. I mean, there's like nothing much on him to go out there and discredit him, but at that same time, it's question marks that I'm not able to go out there and say, okay, he's good at that, he's bad at that. So I think some of it is just opting for the question marks and taking that risk versus a guy who I know has the holes in his game. I know Gal Gas is out. I do see the fight finishing a lot more than you do, I think. I know you think they could be just gas and going over. I think Malott's going to have the gas tech advantage here as well. But Phoenix, how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, man. Hate to fade a fellow Canadian, but I got a unit on Mickey Gall at plus 170 as well. And I mean, to me,
I'm getting teamed up on.
I mean, to me, it's pretty. I think the only possible way. I think the line is mindless. I mean, the only way Malott looks minus 200 is if he subs him within first 2.5 minutes. Like Mike Malott, I know, like this guy, like he hasn't been out of the first round in like 7 years or something like that. And Mickey Gall, like I think he gets a lot of shit. Like I don't think the guy's terrible. I think he's making obvious improvements. I think he's got a decent jab. I think he's got a good overhand right hand. I mean, he rocked Jordan Williams with it. And if you look at like the Mickey Gall fight versus Diego Sanchez versus the Mickey Gall fight versus Alex Morono, I mean, it's night and day. Like the guy is improving. Like the guy is getting better. He's at Sanford now. So I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's a walk in the park. I don't think he's as bad as people make it seem to him. And like Mike Malott, like don't get me wrong. Like I think he's a pretty decent. I think he's a pretty good grappler. I think his submissions are are incredible. His back takes are amazing. Like if this guy's able to, if you slip or anything, or he's able to jump on your back or get your neck, like he's probably subbing you. Mickey Gall is pretty crucial on the mat as well. Like I don't think he's just going to be an easy sub necessarily. And I mean, watching his fights, like I mean, his last fight on the Contender Series, like sub the guy instantly, is what it is. The fight against Renfro, I mean, the guy's getting absolutely beat up. Like he is like not even. He's doing nothing. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He's getting pressured. He looks like he doesn't know what's going on. Like he's scared. He literally doesn't know what to do. Hits him with a counter right, locks up the neck. That's what he does. Very nice choke there. And then if you look at the Diagne fight, like I know you're saying if the fight gets extended, like Malot's gonna have the cardio advantage, but I mean the guy 10-8'd him in the first round and then proceeded to lose rounds 2 and 3 because he was gassed. Like he was simply just gassed in that fight, in my opinion. I do think that his striking, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of it, but I think that technically it's okay. I mean, he looks like he's like knows what he's doing there. Decent jab, decent right hand as well. But to me, the line is mindless. I don't know how you line a minus 200 here when the guy literally just doesn't have any fight tape, and you're facing a guy who's literally been in the UFC since 1-0. Like he's faced good competition too. Like Alex Morono is a decent welterweight. Like Alex Morono is not amazing, but Alex Morono's a pretty decent striker. I mean, Mike Perry is a pretty decent fighter as well. I mean, he beat Jordan Williams. I mean, he was having a lot of success striking with Jordan Williams. I mean, he knocked him down. I think he knocked him down maybe even twice in that fight. So the guy isn't terrible. He's making notable improvements if you watch fight to fight, like it's evident. And I do think on the feet that honestly it's close. It's close on the feet, and I don't know. I don't think Malott has really good wrestling. I mean, the guy has landed 2 takedowns that I've seen, and both have been off a naked kick from his opponent. And Gall doesn't really throw kicks. So how am I going to assume that Malott gets him down and is able to control him? Sure, Mickey can get stuck on his back. Sure, Mickey can get gassed if he's getting wrestled. But who's to say that Malott's going to come in here and wrestle him like that? And then on the feet, I think it's a pick 'em. I think it's a straight pick 'em. I don't really know. I think Mickey Gall's striking is decent. I don't really know where Malott's striking is at. So to me, it's a pick 'em. And then grappling wise, I think maybe even Mickey Gall. What if Mickey Gall has the grappling advantage? I mean, the guy is credentialed on the mat as well. So I don't think it's like Malott has this big edge anywhere. Like, like you watch Dana White Contender Series guys, usually they look super good, and he does, but like they're quick finishes. And I'm not a guy that puts a lot of stock into quick finishes. Like they can happen, but what if they don't? Like I think Malott lost a fight that he 10-8'd in the first round because he gassed. So to me, it's a straight pick 'em. It's literally 50-50 plus 170. Pretty automatic bet for me with the guy that's literally been in the UFC for 10 fights versus the guy who has had 2 minutes and a half of fight time in the past 6 years.
I wouldn't put too much stock into that draw there. That fight was at 145 and like against there, and I do think he's going to have the ability to keep that cardio up at 170. He doesn't have to cut as much weight. I think that it's a spot where, sure, I don't mind the dog shot. I'm not running to play him a lot anymore, especially like playing it straight. But it's more of one where I've seen the holes in Gal, but I haven't seen those same holes in Malott's game. Like you're saying, oh, what happens if he doesn't get that first round? Well, the best thing you can do in a fight is get a first round finish. What I'm trying to say though is Malott is not someone I'm ready to put 5 units on. It's a guy who I think wins the fight. I think he has a great ability to take the back, fight against adversity. He's come back against adversity many times, and he does a lot of things very, very well. I think it's gonna be a really close fight. Douglas saying, getting that side bet. If I wasn't out with the girlfriend tonight, I'd offer a shoey side bet with you guys, but maybe we'll see. I think it'll be a fun fight though. It'll be a lot. It'll answer a lot of questions. Let's say that. I'm cheering for Mike a lot. I do think he is a great pick on DraftKings this week, especially in GPP, just because he's going overlooked. Gal is a very, very popular dog this week. It's like we're hearing 2 very, very sharp guys, and they aren't alone in picking Gal. I think that his ownership, Malott's ownership, is going to be down pretty bad, bad ownership. And it's a guy who's got really high upside, in my opinion. He gets those first round finishes. So high ceiling, maybe not as high as the floor, but low ownership. I don't mind him as a DraftKings play this week too. But we'll see how that one goes. I appreciate your guys' takes. Hopefully we're on the same side and more moving forwards. But let's keep it rolling. Next fight up on the night, we have Aspen Ladd 9-2, Raquel Pennington 13-8. Aspen Ladd made weight. Woohoo! What's next? Phoenix, how do you see them going down?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is another one that I'm personally staying away from. It's tough because, I mean, Raquel Pennington, like I think Raquel Pennington is the better striker. I mean, I think it's just like if you go and watch her fight with I forget who it was. Like Marion Renault, for example. Like she clearly had the striking advantage in that fight. Like she was like piecing her up from distance. I think she's way more technical than Aspen Ladd is. I mean, Aspen Ladd really only has a jab and a left hook and maybe a body kick, and she can't really fight from range, and she's super hittable. So I don't think Aspen Ladd's a great striker. But like Raquel Pennington, like all of her fights just get sucked into the clinch, like all of them, and she's good at it. I mean, she's like, she's a good grinder on the clinch. She fights for position well, but I mean, she can be taken down. I mean, she's been taken down in like all of her fights pretty much, and she can be held down. I mean, the Macy Chiasson fight, I mean, at the end of that round, the last 15 seconds, if there was more time in that round, like she was flanned out. She was flanned out. She was stuck. And if Aspen Ladd can get you in that position, Aspen Ladd has some vicious ground and pound. She just does. To me, I'm not really an Aspen Ladd like backer. I don't think she's amazing. I think that her striking is not up to top level contender quality. But she's a decent, when she gets on top, she's got heavy top pressure, heavy top control, good transitions. She threatens submissions, and she's got vicious ground and pound. So to me, I think Raquel Pennington is the better fighter. I think she has a good striking advantage. I think she can land takedowns. I think Ladd's takedown defense isn't great. Ladd can get stuck on bottom, and I think Pennington can have some success there. But it's just Raquel Pennington is going to give Aspen Ladd the exact fight that is going to give Aspen Ladd the best chance to win. Like if you told me Raquel Pennington was going to stay on the outside, strike with her for 15 minutes, try to be evasive, if Aspen clinches up, sure, fight in the clinch for a while, get back to space, stick to that game plan, I'd be much more confident in backing Raquel here. But I think the fight's going to play out 12 out of the 15 minutes in the clinch, probably, if not on the ground. I think if Aspen Ladd gets a takedown, I honestly think that Aspen Ladd could potentially finish her. I mean, she's just got really good top pressure. Like, I don't necessarily know if she's going to be able to take down Raquel and control her a lot, but I do think that if, for example, like they're clinch battling, Ladd shoots, gets the takedown, it wouldn't surprise me if she rides out the rest of that round on top, landing big punches, landing elbows. So I do think that I personally think the line is about right. I maybe a bit wide. I put Pennington around 60% implied, just because I do think she has a striking advantage. I do think that she can win the clinch exchanges, but again, this is another one of those fights, kind of like earlier with Kay Hansen. It's just who's stronger, like who is going to be able to implement, more strength, more wrestling in the clinch. And again, it's kind of hard for me to say. I think that Ladd might be stronger, but like I don't know. So it's hard to quantify. So I'm gonna say that Pennington wins a decision just by competitive clinch exchanges, but then the striking, she lands more strikes. I think she's also more active in the clinch as well, with knees, dirty boxing, uppercuts, elbows, things like that. But the fight is gonna play out in a way that Aspen Ladd could win the fight, and if she does get on top, she could finish her, or she could ride out the round in dominant position. So kind of a stay away fight for me.
Perfect. And I see some commentary staying away from take a stand. Yeah, this is one I won't be taking a stand on at all. And I let Phoenix break this one down because I got it here in my notes. It says, yeah, don't bet on Aspen Ladd fights. It's just one of those ones I can't get right. I could go on and I could throw some adversity at you with that Pennington one and say, oh, Ladd's looking a lot better on the scale and do all this stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to go against you on this one. I'm going to let you take that pick. I want no action on this one. I'm going to sit back and relax. I got way too much action on this card as a whole. I don't need to chase on this one. This has so many question marks around it. Ladd went out there, put in abysmal performances last time out, and not something I really want to bet on her immediately. I want to go out there and see where she is at before betting on her again another time. I'm just sit back and relax. That's me taking my stand. Liam, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll try and be quick on this one. I do have a bet here. I played Aspen Ladd on the scorecards equal no action market, and I thought that was a good way to target her here. She was plus 130, so you're not really departing very much from her money line price. And on top of that, I think you limit a lot of the downside here, right? Raquel Pennington, I think she's had 15 UFC fights and won 3 of them inside the distance, right? So it's like, that's not going to happen very often. Aspen Ladd was just at 145 against somebody who I'd argue is a much bigger hitter in Norma Dumont. And I played Norma there as an underdog. I did play Norma by KO there as well. And Norma just stood on the outside and easily jabbed her up. I thought that if Ladd had pushed the pace or tried to get involved, like maybe she would have got knocked out. And instead she realized, I probably can't take this chick down. She's too big. I don't know why I'm here. And it looked like she had no interest in being there. Ladd is something of a size bully, in my opinion, right? So she's got to be a little bigger. She's got to get on top of you, and she's got to try and land some ground and pound. That's where she's at her best. And I think that she's going to have opportunities here, right? You mentioned, Phoenix, she bullies her way into the clinch. I'm talking about Raquel Pennington now. Even in fights where she's doing well at range, she likes to barrel her way forward, push people against the fence, and impose her will and her skill set. I think that Aspen Ladd is going to have opportunities for inside and outside trips as a result. I think that if she just slips and gets on top of her, that's a good opportunity for Aspen Ladd to finish the fight. And if not, I think that's also a potential for Aspen to get some good, 10-8 round potential, force Pennington to fight into a bad situation. With all that being said, I had also played the fight does not go the distance at plus 240 early in the week. And my reasoning there was Aspen Ladd might miss weight. And if she does, she's going to, potentially get finished in her own right. Because Aspen Ladd, we've seen that when she shows up on a bad weight cut performance, her chin could be suspect. That happened to her against Jermaine Durandamy, just butchered that name, where she was basically just touched once and, equilibrium's gone. Her weight cut much better this week. So don't feel as good about the fight doesn't go the distance because I normally like both ladies to have a path. I think it'd be a lot tougher to envision the Raquel Pennington finish here because Aspen Ladd's a pretty tough girl. But with that being said, I kind of like this. We did see Raquel in her last fight get a finish. Maybe she rides that wave of momentum. If not, I hope my girl Aspen Ladd's able to get it done, finish here. I would win either way. So if either lady wins inside the distance, your boy's making money. But especially if it's Aspen Ladd winning inside the distance, that would be absolutely glorious for me. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I think Aspen Ladd is live here, but I don't love the money line at plus 155. I kind of wanted to get involved earlier in the week. I was stuck down in Florida. Couldn't hit that plus 165 when I saw it. So, hey, if you guys got on that number, I don't think that's bad. For the reasons Phoenix mentioned, I do think Pennington probably around, 58, 60% here. She is the better, more proven fighter long-term, but much younger fighter, pretty big girl, way more finishing upside in my opinion. Give me Aspen Ladd. That's what I like.
Perfect. I'll let you guys take that one. I'm not going to touch that one too much. We're going to move on. Just posted, though, I am working with Current MMA. Go check them out on Twitter and YouTube. My best bets video is up, and we'll talk about the ones that I've quantified as best bets up shortly as well. Also getting ready to post this going up. Zhang versus Joanna 2. June 11th. That'll be fun. Looking forward to that one. I hope I can break it down with you two folks. But let's keep it moving on this card and this card right here. Anthony Hernandez, 8-2, facing short notice replacement Josh Fremd, 9-2. Josh Fremd, a big boy for the weight class. He got that size advantage. But Anthony Hernandez has gotten so many different opponents throughout the week. Thankfully, staying on the card. I like to see him. I still do not forgive him for subbing Rodolfo Vieiro, but props to him for doing so. But let's have some fun. Let's let you guys start this one off. Liam, how do you see this one going down?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So this is a tricky fight to get a read on. I'm not going to pretend that I have a very strong read. I think either of these guys could win. I think somebody's probably going to win inside the distance. Both these guys have some suspect durability. I think that on top of that, Fremd is coming in here on short notice, but I was impressed by how he looked on the scales for a short notice fighter. Oftentimes you see a little bit fat around the waist, whatever, little extra cheeks, things like this, because fighters are people and they, prepare for their fights, but sometimes they just act like normal people outside of camp. I think that Fremd is in good shape. I think he's going to show up ready to fight. And I also think that Hernandez, I think he might be the better fighter, or certainly a little bit more well-rounded skill set, but he's shown some, durability holes. Kevin Holland finished him instantly in a fight in the UFC. Which is not a great look. He got finished by Marcus Perez, which is actually horrifying. He's one of the worst fighters to secure a win in the UFC. And basically he's only had moments of success when guys were like cardio gassing cardio deaths against him in the UFC prior to that point. So I don't think Marcus Perez is a very high level fighter. That's a concerning loss. Josh Fremd, I think he's going to come in here. I think he's going to swing heavies, and I think he's going to try and put him away early. He could definitely get submitted if that doesn't work out. I think he might start shooting panic takedowns, especially if he gets tired. He is here on short notice. Maybe he's got 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes to work. But I like Fremd by knockout at plus 285. I thought that was a playable line. I did hit it for 0.7 units. And that's basically just going to be the whole of my action here, unless I get involved on some violence. I did consider potentially parlaying up the unders or the fight doesn't go. So those are some things I'm looking at here, but the prices have been hit pretty hard. It does seem like, a lot of people think this fight's going to end inside the distance, and I do too.
Perfect. Me too. I see it does. The line is absolutely juiced, unfortunately, because I saw the fight announced in my tape, and I'm like, perfect. Totals weren't out yet. I'm going to hit this, what it is. minus 450 not to go to decision. Yeah, maybe I won't hit that immediately. Has came down a bit. I take the under 2.5. That's where I'm going with it. Like you mentioned, two guys with durability concerns. I'm not going to pick a side here. I do like Frem. Frem's got some decent skill sets here. So I'm excited to see this one go down. Able to build some more notes on Frem to see him in the future as well. But give me some violence. Let's keep his violence going. Phoenix, how do you see him going down?
Yeah, not gonna add much. I agree. Violence is probably the way it ends. It's just when you're watching Fremd, I wanted to bet Fremd. I mean, I knew he had a decent size advantage. And Anthony Hernandez is more of a guy you want to back as a dog more than as a favorite. He's super fragile, especially to the body. But I just think that Josh Fremd likes fights where like he can control the action. In the Renato Valente fight, where he could just like kind of walk him down. Land his jab, land his kicks, work to the body. But Anthony Hernandez is not going to give him that kind of fight. Anthony Hernandez is going to get in your face. He's going to try to make it ugly. And I do think that this fight probably ends in a bunch of them swinging early. I mean, I was considering the under 1.5, but I don't know. It could get dicey, maybe if Anthony Hernandez is struggling with the range a little bit, he wants to get some reads. I mean, Fremd isn't really the most like pedal to the metal kind of fighter. He'll kind of fight on the outside and, land one shot at a time too. But I do think that Anthony Hernandez has a pretty big grappling advantage here if he gets there. I mean, that Brendan Allen fight, I know Brendan Allen isn't amazing, but, that was pretty impressive to outgrapple Brendan Allen for 4 rounds in a title fight where his cardio looked great. So yeah, I think that Hernandez is the rightful favorite, probably around minus like 185, minus 175 around there. But I'm not rushing to the window to back Anthony Hernandez as a favorite, especially a substantial favorite, and with the violence bets, with the violence line so juiced, kind of just going to be a stay away, enjoy the action kind of fight for me.
Perfect. Let's keep it rolling, keep things hot. Give me some violence on that one. And the next one where Phoenix maybe don't want as much violence. Ian Gary, the prospect, 8-0. Darian Weeks, 5-1. This one will be fun. Phoenix, I'm just going to go right to you because I know you got action on this one. I want to hear your side before I give my P's and Q's about it. Go for it.
Yeah, I got two spots on this fight, honestly. I have the fight goes to decision at plus like 160, and I have Gary by sub at plus 750. I'm largely so I think that Ian Gary is the rightful favorite here. I capped him at like 75%. Like I think that he's better. I think that he gets shut on a little bit too much. I just think that he had so much hype that now like it's like kind of like people are kind of shitting on him because he had so much hype. But I think without the hype aside, he's a pretty decent fighter. I think he does a lot of things well. I think he has very long. I think he has a good diversity of strikes. I think his grappling's pretty, I honestly think his grappling's very underrated. I mean, if you go and watch Ian Gary's fight, pretty much every Cage Warriors fight prior to the UFC, he's grappling. Like he's grappling a lot. Like, and he's threatening submissions. Like he's got a good Darce choke. He's got a really good transition game. And Darian Weeks, he is not a very good defensive grappler, like at all. He gives up his back. He can be, put himself in volatile positions. And I don't really understand. I don't really think that Ian Gary is like this big hitter, like that everyone seems to think he is. Like he definitely has some power, but like I don't like plus 125 on the KO is kind of really is weird to me. Like I don't understand why it's so juiced personally. I think the sub honestly materializes more than the knockout. I think a lot of Ian Gary's fights end up in positions where we're grappling, like all of them. Um, and so I think that Gary by sub plus 750 is way off. And then my rationale for the fight goes to decision is just if Weeks wins this fight, I think it's a sloppy, greasy decision. Like I don't see much finishing upside for Darian Weeks. I know he's finished all of his wins, but sure, I know Gary's striking defense is pretty bad, but I don't think Weeks is like some crazy hitter per se. I think all of his finishes by knockout are like grappling, and then he gets on top and then he pounds out his opponent who's kind of gassed or like kind of quitting. That's not going to happen. Ian Gary's not going to quit or get reversed into a position where he's just going to get ground and pounded, in my opinion. So I don't think that Weeks has much finishing upside on the feet. In terms of Gary, I understand. I recognize that he can win this fight by decision. He can win this fight by knockout. He can win this fight by submission. I think any of those are on the table. But to me, I think his decision versus his finish equity is close to evens. And then when you add in the fact that I think if Weeks is to win this fight, it's solely by decision for the most part, then plus 160 line is way off in my opinion. I think the fight goes to decision should be close to evens. And then the Gary by sub, it's just plus 750 is way off. Like I think he can definitely win by sub. I think if he's going to finish the fight, I honestly truly believe that he's going to win this fight by submission opposed to knockout. And that could be wrong. I mean, he could knock him out with the first punch or in the first round, something like that. It could very well happen. I could look like an idiot, but I do think that a lot of Gary's fights, like on tape, hit the mat. Weeks fights hit the mat. I think there's going to be grappling. I think Gary is actually a pretty good grappler. I think a lot of people sleep on his grappling because he likes to strike and he's got some good knockouts. But I do think that he's a pretty good grappler. I do think that he can take the back of Weeks here if the opportunity presents itself. I think he's bigger, and I think that the submission could materialize here. So those are my two plays on this fight. I just think that Gary's finishing. I think his finishing, like the fact that he's like some potent finisher, is kind of oversold. I don't really see that. I see him as more of a patient fighter that sometimes even lacks on volume. And if he can't find the kill shot, I think a lot of his UFC fights are probably going to hit the card. So at plus 160, I think there's some decent value there.
Sweet. I like that. And Mbe's going and saying about Weeks split decision, saying he's live for a decision. Liam, I'll let you take that question. Do you see Weeks winning a decision here?
Guys, this is a fight that the more I've looked into it, the more my thoughts have kind of changed. And listen, I'm Irish as could be, right? So I want Ian Gary to do well. I'm wishing him the best. I hope that he does. Earlier this week, to credit my man Phoenix, I was telling people I thought plus 850 on the sub was a little ridiculous on the Ian Gary side. I also thought that the fight ends by sub at plus 550 was a bit wide. And the reason being is as follows, right? I think Darian Weeks has a wrestling background. The guy actually, he's got a lot more competitions under his belt than I was aware of. So as I started looking into him more, he's got some fights in other combat sports. He's got some amateur MMA experience. So not to say that the guy's a world beater or anything like that, but I think that that's why he looked so composed in his UFC debut. Obviously fell short there against Brian Barberena, who I did think is a shot fighter, largely speaking. But again, that was a fight on short notice. I thought he comported himself well over the course of 15 minutes, given some of those considerations. And I do think we're going to see a better and improved product from Darian Weeks here. People getting in on the early numbers on Ian Gary makes a lot of sense to me. Minus 215, I get it. But now we're getting to the point where plus 310 coming back on the other side, that seems a little wide to me almost. Ian Gary, was getting touched cleanly on the chin by Jordan Williams. And I know we've seen a lot of guys underperform their UFC debut. So that's why I'm thinking, maybe that was just a little bit of nerves, a little bit of underperformance, but that's not good. Jordan Williams not very good, not going to be, a high-level UFC fighter in my view, and was landing cleanly on his chin. That's a small concern for me because I also saw it on his previous tape. So I went back and I started running his Cage Warrior stuff. And again, like Phoenix mentions, when he's on top, he looks pretty competent. He can move around the back. I don't think he's secured a submission officially as a pro, but he did on the amateurs. And he certainly threatened a couple of close locks. So I think all of that makes sense. But I also think that Weeks might have a wrestling advantage here. I'm not sure who's going to be the better wrestler between these two guys, but I think he's going to have a slightly lower center of gravity. I know that he's over here training at Sanford MMA, but notoriously people from the UK, the Irish scene don't come over with great wrestling. So he's probably going to be trying to close that gap. But Weeks, I do think has a real wrestling background. All those things make me question whether Gary's going to be able to get off on his game here. Because let's say he gets taken down early. Does he become more hesitant in the striking? Does he start pursuing his own takedowns? I just have a hard time getting a clear read on this fight. And so for that reason, the shouts that Phoenix made, the fight to end by sub, kind of just fading the knockout narrative here is something that I was a little bit interested in. But I don't know, man. It's a tricky fight. And, I went from early in the week thinking maybe Ian Gary inside the distance was like a parlay piece or something to like end of the week thinking maybe the money line is live on the weak side. So for that reason, I don't want to come down with big conviction either way. It's not going to be a big bet no matter what I place on this fight. But I missed the number on Gary's sub. I think it's down to plus 750. So a lot of numbers moving in directions I don't like on this fight.
All right. I like the breakdowns, both you guys. I'm going to keep it truly, truly short here. I think it's one where Ian Gary's a prospect. I think he's got decent skills, but he's someone we're going to fade in the future. He is a very hittable. He has some holes in his game, but I don't think this is the spot to fade him. Darian Weeks also has some holes in his game. I do think that counter-striking wise, Gary's a great counter-striker, and I will give him the advantage on the feet. The wrestling does happen. I do like if Gary goes for a takedown, ends up on the back. Sorry, if he goes for a takedown, Weeks you gives up his back all the time when he's getting up. I think that sub is live there from Gary. I did poke it a bit myself, but I don't mind the shot on week, especially that split decision at plus 2,800, because that is like it's a possibility. I just do not think that this is the guy that Ian Gary's going to lose to. I think that it goes going, and maybe we can fade him in the future, but not right here. All right, moving right along, we have the main card, and we've been doing some in-depth breakdowns on these ones. I love it. 5 fights left. Vince Pichel, 14-2-1. Mark Madsen, 11-0. And if you guys are on Twitter at all, you're seeing Vince Pichel saying he's going to get a round 3 sub. He's telling everyone to go bet that on him. So do we listen to that? Is that this PFL fights all over again? I don't know. I don't know how much I want to do this. We'll see where I end up on it. I do have some Pichel round 3. Maybe. But it'll be a fun fight. I think it's there's a lot of action both sides, just because on DraftKings, Madsen's ceiling is super high. Of course, we got to acknowledge the fact that Pichel's takedown defense is horrendous. Madsen's a guy with great takedowns, Olympian wrestler. Like, you got to give that to him. So it's questionable. We all know the storyline. Can Madsen's gas tank hold up? I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Pichel saying himself that he's going to wear him out in the wrestling. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Liam, we'll start with you. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, this is another one where I kind of changed my mind over the course of the week, and went into this thinking that Mark Madsen was going to be a live underdog. You know, I saw plus 125. I indicated to James that was somewhat interesting to me. The number's been crushed, didn't play it. So I have no interest at this current number, plus 105, minus 110, just shit like that. Basically, I went back and watched the Guida fight. I had money on Guida, and I was sick to my stomach. I could hardly watch that fight at the casino while it was taking place. That being said, I thought that it was a close fight. You know, I thought that fight could have went either way, and that's not something you want to say necessarily. If you're supposed to be a wrestling threat and you can't go out there and cleanly beat Clay Guida. And I know that sounds a little tricky, right? Clay Guida obviously has his own wrestling credentials, but he's been out-grappled a number of times. And I thought that Madsen, who has that kind of nasty front choke series and things like that, maybe could find something where Clay Guida's been choked out with that guillotine a lot of times, but no, nothing close, and really eked out a split decision there. So now he's got another fight where he might have to eke out a split decision to win this one, right? Like, I think that it's possible he could run through Pichel in round 1. We've seen archetypes like this do that to him, but I think it's a very low percentage outcome, right? I think, like, I remember the Kabalov fight is what I started watching when I was like, all right, yeah, Vince is not winning this fight, because at the time he had no resistance to somebody just picking him up ass over tea kettle and suplexing him overhead, and he got knocked out with a suplex. Like, I know that the guy finished with a couple ground and pound shots. He was out on the suplex. So I think that for that reason, I was like, oh God, Pichel. But you've seen he's made improvements over time in that area, and he continues to work on his craft. And I think that Vince Pichel has much more of a chance of hurting you with the things he throws on the feet. He's a lot more committed to his offense. And, you know, Madsen doesn't seem comfortable firing. He doesn't seem comfortable setting his feet. And so I think that Pichel is probably going to be putting the pressure on him. I think he loses his first round at a high clip. So that's the reason that I might wait for a live entry spot here. But it's tricky, man. I think that, you know, if Pichel is getting the better of him in round 1, the live number is going to be gone. So that will be a bit of a concern. Maybe I put a little bit pre-fight, but yeah, I just think that overall Pichel probably will have the cardio to go, but the problem is he's 39. So I can't be too confident in that unless I see Madsen starting to fall off a bit. And he is at fight ready. They do have good supplementation and training and everything else. So I would be surprised if we don't see marginal improvements here from Madsen. He is the slightly younger of these two, but I don't think he's going to become like an overnight sensation. You know, he's way too old, in my opinion, to be a legitimate prospect in this weight class. And some other people have mentioned this. I just want to touch on the fact that he is a upper body wrestler. And so I think he's actually going to body Vince Pichel upper body in the early going. The question is, can he do that over time? And upper body wrestling is very labor intensive, costs a lot of energy to do it. And so if Vince is getting back up to his feet, like I've seen him do against many people when taken down, even into bad positions, that's where it becomes interesting to me. You know, I think Madsen might get 2 to 3 takedowns in the first round. I think a smarter approach would be to try and take Vince Pichel down once per round around the 3 to 4 minute mark and just try and ride him into the fence. That would be how Madsen wins this fight, in my opinion. Smart game planning, win a decision, eke this guy out. Don't try and force your wrestling on him from minute 1 to the end, because he will gas in that scenario. So, I think Vince Pichel's live to come back in this fight. Nothing on it pre-fight for me.
Perfect. I think I mentioned it all. It's binary, right? Like the gas tank's a question mark, the takedown question's a Takedown defense is also a question mark. You have holes on each side. Who's gonna be able to capitalize on it? I think the best way to go at it is you got either you take Madsen straight up, or you take the round 3, or even the draw spot at Eric Betts Fights on Twitter. Mentioned the draw spot plus 8,000, and 2 10-9s, and then if Madsen gasses out at 10-8, could happen. Am I telling you to go bet that? No, this is not financial advice. What I will say though is I beat myself up. Like I put myself in a bad situation because earlier in the week I told Liam I would bet on Vince Pichel if it got to evens. It is evens. So like, am I true to my word? I don't know. It's a tough one because I did tell Liam, I did tell him that I was going to bet him at evens. He is minus 110 on Bet365. I just checked. I don't know if I can get there. I have a lot of Madsen exposure on DraftKings because I do think he gets those takedowns over and over, and that score is very high. But I also have that round 3 ticket. I don't know where I'm going to go. It's a tough one. I might have to go back and watch tape. We'll have to. I don't know. Maybe Phoenix, you'll be able to help me in one direction or the other. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm not the guy for that, man. I think this fight is a pick'em. I actually have a lot of exposure on this fight though. So to me, like you said, like it's a binary fight. I do think that Mark Madsen wins round 1 at a very high clip. Not even simply just because like Vince Pichel, even if you look at him, pretty much all of his most recent fights, he's lost round 1. Like he's been wrestling round. Jim Miller wrestled him in round 1. Roberts wrestled him in round 1. Hubbard was able to wrestle him in round 1, I think, or I know Hubbard won the first round. So I think Madsen wins the first round at a pretty decent clip. I think Pichel wins round 3 at a pretty decent clip. Well, pretty much the highest of clips, unless Madsen's made significant improvements. So to me, it comes down to who wins round 2. And, I don't, I'm personally, if I was to pick someone to win, I would probably pick, I don't know really. I think I'd probably just lean Pichel maybe. I was on Madsen earlier, but maybe Pichel. I don't know, honestly. But I just think that, the guys that are beating Pichel, right, are wrestlers, right? Big time wrestlers like Gillespie and Khabibov. But like Gillespie's, I think he's probably got the best top game in the UFC, honestly. Like arguably best top game in the UFC or close to it. Khabibov was on all the juice back in the day, and that was a long time ago. Madsen just doesn't have that control. That's the problem. I mean, if you could tell, like Vince Pichel is not that difficult to take down, in my opinion, but he's hard to hold down, right? Like, so Madsen, does he get those takedowns? I think so. I do think he does have like a solid eight minutes of cardio wrestling. I mean, in round 2, he was still able to take down Hubbard. He was still able to do that. I think Madsen is going to be the guy in the center. I think he'll take the center of the cage. I do think that he'll make his way into the clinch, and once he grasps his hands, like he's going to take him down. He's going to take him down with his Greco-Roman wrestling background, in my opinion. I don't think Pichel's takedown defense is great, but I don't know who wins round 2. Like another huge part of it is like who's judging the fight. Like if Madsen, say for example, takes him down and is controlling him against the cage for 3 minutes, and then Pichel comes out and strikes his face off for the last 2. What are the judges saying? Because we've obviously there's inconsistencies we don't know. So from a money line perspective, I got nothing, but I do have a lot of exposure on the fight. I have 2 units on the fight to go to decision at minus 163. I think that's a pretty solid spot. I think Madsen's finish equity is pretty low. I don't really think he finishes Pichel. Pichel's a super tough guy, unless he locks up maybe a front choke, but I don't think his submission grappling game has developed as much yet. And then Madsen's not going to knock out Vince Pichel. I mean, I don't think he'll knock him out on the feet ever, and I don't think he grounds and pounds him. I mean, Pichel's kind of like always moving. And then from the Pichel side, I think he has more finishing equity, but I mean, I still think he probably wins a decision. I mean, Madsen is tough. Madsen ate a flying knee from Hubbard. I mean, was able to survive in round 3. I get Pichel, he has better striking than Hubbard in my opinion, but I covered myself because I also have Pichel round 3 plus 1,600 for 1/5 of a unit just in case that is to happen, because I think a large portion of the finish equity, if it is going to finish, is actually Pichel in round 3. Like I don't really see any guy finishing earlier. And then I also took a poke at Madsen by decision at plus 240. I mean, I don't really get that, to be honest. I mean, his money line is evens and plus 240 decision. I mean, really, do we think that Madsen's going to finish Vince Pichel? Like, I don't think it's that likely. So I've set myself up in a position where, the only way I'm losing is if one of the guys finishes early in the first 2 rounds, which I don't think happens at too high of a clip, or if Madsen gets a round 3 finish, which I also don't see likely. I mean, if Pichel wins in round 3, I profit. If the fight goes to decision, I profit. And if Madsen wins by decision, it's just an absolute dub. So I think I like the way that I played the fight personally. And Yeah.
All right, you heard it here first. Matson's gonna finish him in round 1. All right. No, I'm just playing. It's a fun fight. I'm not. I know Doug is telling me to take a stand here, baby bet, because it's even. Maybe I should trust my gut. For some reason, though, like there's such a path of victory for Madsen. Like the takedown's there. Takedown defense isn't there for Michelle. Who knows if you can be able to survive? I think I'm okay with just my round 3 sprinkle. That's okay.
I will just say though, guys, the one last thing I wanted to close on this, because I think Phoenix made a ton of great points. It's when I look at Pichel, who was able to get him down, and it was guys that are pretty good at wrestling, right? Like Gregor Gillespie. I remember my notes in that fight say, I think Gregor is breaking. Like I thought Gregor was ready to give up, and he got the takedown and finished him right then. And I was like, yo, if he did not get that takedown, how does this fight end? Because I did think I was seeing like concern on the face of Gregor Gillespie, like how the fuck does this guy keep getting up? And I thought that was like a battle of who's going to break first, and Pichel did break there. That's Gregor Gillespie. That's a guy who can keep on you at the wrestling pace with the folk style control rides that are really annoying and hard to get up from, right? We see how many guys get ridden against the fence in MMA. When has Madsen rode anybody out? He doesn't do it. He's not from that school of wrestling. He doesn't have that ability. So he would need to have made some big improvements at Fight Ready where they teach him some wrestling style rides to get and stay on top of people. Because outside of that, the guy likes to throw people. He likes to get a hold of them, slam them with the body lock, whatever, and they get right back to their feet in most of his fights. Or he like grabs them by the neck and rings them out or something because they're a bum on the regionals. But it's like when he's fought guys of substance, it's been more like I got to eke a decision. I got to find my spots and pick them. I don't think that the guy is like a great control style grappler. And for that reason, I do think Pichel is going to be live.
Fair. Maybe I got to do it. Luckily for me in Canada, because of all the new sports books, I got like 400 bet credits waiting. Maybe I use them. Maybe I'll take a small stab because I said so. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Let's not waste any more time on it. Let's move on to Mackenzie Dern, 11-2, Tisha Torres, 13-5. This one also very heated debates on Twitter. And this is very simple for me. If Dern can't get those takedowns, what's going to happen? Tisha Torres is going to win a decision. If Dern can get that takedown, who's going to win? Probably Dern. It's pretty simple. Like Tisha Torres is a girl who's going to win on volume, but she was taken down by Angela Hill. Of course, she's going to see it coming and she's working on it. Tiny Tornado is a fierce little lady. I'll give her that, though. Holy, because she beat me up, man. She is tough. She gives out volume. And I think that if it goes above 2.5 rounds, if Dern can't get her down there, it's a clear decision for Torres. And I know Phoenix is going to talk about that later, so I give him that. But I do not see Torres finishing Mackenzie Dern. Like, I hope you guys agree with me on this. Like, I hope I'm not alone by saying that. I don't see her. Dern is a very tough girl. Did not get finished by Marina Rodriguez. I think it's either Dern sub or Tisha Torres by decision. And for that case, I took it. I forget who it was. I think his name is Mr. Broccoli on Twitter. He's the one who pointed out that line because I'm not used to having all these nice lines over here. Like I'm used to having these like 3 books. I'm not good with all this gambling being legal now in Ontario. I'm able to find these lines, and Dern inside the distance and scorecards no action, meaning if the fight ends and if Dern finishes the fight, my cash wins. If it goes to decision, it's a void and I get my money back. I think it's like my first 5-unit play in months. I don't see Torres finishing. I think the line should have been way wider. I got it up minus 250. It's now minus 475. So yay, CLV. We always know how that goes, but I think it's either Dern submission, Torres decision. Wow. I'm mumble jumble all over the place. I'll let you guys take this one over. I know you guys got action on this one. I am cheering for Mackenzie Dern. I actually just remembered I do have a unit on Mackenzie Dern earlier in the week at plus money. I think that, of course, that sub is live, but I don't know if I want to add any more to it. I of course get it. Like Dern's takedown isn't that good, but if she gets it there, we all know what's going to happen. So I'll let you guys talk. I'm excited to hear what you guys got to say about it because it's a spot I'm also looking at DraftKings. So Phoenix, we'll start with you. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, man, -2. That's actually a really good bet. Like, I honestly probably capped that near 95%. Honestly, like, I think Torres.
Please, man, I don't make 5-unit bets, so this is bound to go wrong.
Yeah, so I'm on the Torres side though. I've been feeling a little bit less confident about it as the week goes, but I still do think it hits. To me, it's just we know that I'm not concerned about Mackenzie Dern's wrestling taking down Tisha Torres. I don't think that happens at that high of a clip. Like that's not my worry. Mackenzie Dern can't wrestle. The way she sets up takedowns is she punches herself into the clinch and then tries to set something up from there. Tisha Torres way too fast. Way too fast. Tisha Torres is going to move out of that. Tisha Torres is going to see that coming. She's going to piece her up as she's coming in, and she's going to get out of that situation. So I don't think I'm not overly concerned about Mackenzie Dern landing a takedown. What I am concerned about is Tisha Torres. Her fighting style leads to her ending up on her back. Like, she's super aggressive. She throws big kicks. She overextends. And do I think Mackenzie Dern's going to time a blast double leg? No. Like, it's more so Tisha Torres maybe overextends and puts herself in the clinch, or slips and then ends up on her back. But I'm also of the impression that, I get it. Like, Mackenzie Dern, probably one of the best BJJ women we've probably ever seen in the UFC. But I'm not under the impression that if she necessarily like gets her down, that it's an instant sub, like insta sub, no questions asked. Like, I get that can happen. It's Mackenzie Dern, but I don't think I don't think that if she hits the ground right away that Tisha can't get back to her feet. Like, Tisha, she's been taken down a bunch, which is concerning. But she gets back up to her feet. I mean, the only reason her takedown defense is sub 60% is because Jessica Andrade landed 10 out of 12 takedowns, and Jessica Andrade has a huge strength advantage there. So apart from that, her takedown defense is near 70% or somewhere close to there. So my biggest concern is if Tisha actually comes in here, fights a smart fight, plays the range, because she understands the danger. I know she does. She's a smart woman. She's not Randa Marcus. She's not Hannah Cipher. She's not going to go into the guard of Mackenzie Dern. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, I may cry, but it's not going to happen. So I think Tisha Torres, I think speed kills. I think she's got good volume. I think she's going to be moving. I don't think Dern is going to have success getting her into the position where she wants to have her. I think Tisha's going to piece her up on the feet. If Tisha does overextend, I do think that, it is probable that she probably ends up on her back, at least once out of something. But I do think Tisha can get back to her feet. I mean, I do think that she's going to try to get back to her feet. What did concern me is that, against Angela Hill, she gave up her back, which very much concerns me. I went back and watched that. Not the best look. So my confidence on Tisha Torres isn't as strong as it was when I came out of tape, but I do still think that, barring one of her own mistakes, that she will be able to, keep the fight standing. I think she's got a big speed advantage here. I'm also inclined that she probably doesn't finish her. I do think that if Dern is to win this fight, it's gonna be by submission, because like the way she wins a decision is like, you're gonna tell me that she wins a decision based on winning 2 rounds of her having evident top time and not subbing Tisha Torres? Like, I don't know. And we also don't really know anything about, Tisha's sub defense. She could come in here and have pretty good sub defense, she could also get subbed instantly. So those are question marks, but I don't know. I don't like betting on fighters like Mackenzie Dern. I don't like betting on fighters that have one main path to victory, but but she's not able to get it there. Like, I don't think she's going to be able to get it there by herself. I think she's going to have to rely on a Tisha mistake, which could happen, but I can't cap that at evens. I can't put that at evens. I got to favor Torres. I think she's riding some good momentum here. I think she's a better striker. That's where every fight starts, on the feet. So I got a unit on Torres and a little bit on the decision as well. So go Tisha.
There you go. I like the bets. And let me just clarify something real quick. Doug stepped away. How could you? My bet was not Torres by decision. I think that's something that Gabriel pointed out. I do not mind that bet. But my bet, in fact, was the Dern finish only. I think that bet is, if it goes to the scorecard, it's a void. It doesn't matter. But I think the only person lively to finish, let me knock on some wood here, is going to be Mackenzie Dern. I think that Torres is a decision machine, and that's why I don't mind that plus 170 look. But I think if anyone's going to get a finish here, it's Dern, and that's why I took that line. It's a bit inflated now. Doug, if you want to know all my plays, I did post them on the Gordo Gambles Twitter account. I know you follow me. Absolute beauty. All right, let's go on, Liam. Your turn. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, boys, I'm going to be on the other side here. Not betting it yet. I'm definitely considering it strongly, playing the Dern subline, especially. And the reason being is that Angela Hill fight, right? So Phoenix, I thought, hit the nail on the head in the sense, again, that when you watch, she's not like a bad fighter. She's obviously very smart. She moves around. She makes a lot of good decisions in her fights. But one bad decision could cost her here badly. And I think that there was enough opportunities in that Angela Hill fight that I would be very, very worried about playing her here. And Angela Hill is simply not a lethal grappler, right? It's like, that's just not what she does. And I know that Mbe says she's a better wrestler than Dern. She wasn't wrestling like intentionally, really. She just was like barreling into the clinch a little bit, and Tisha falls over because she's not that big, right? She's a very small fighter. She's a strawweight who's like 5'1". She's got a lot of musculature, but I don't think that she's going to be able to match the physicality of somebody like Mackenzie, who is a former 125er as well. I do think that Mackenzie carries a little bit more weight. I think she will be the heavier lady come fight time. And I liked everything that I heard Mackenzie say about this fight. So I listened to her interviews, and what Mackenzie was saying was, last time out, I was thinking, should I ground and pound? Should I do this? I was overthinking my top control. And now what I need to do is force the submission. And she's like, and I can do that. And what I need to do is be intentional and focus on that. She said, I think my stand-up, my hands are better than my wrestling purely, but I also think that I have a couple different ways of entering this fight. One of the things she talked about that I love, she's like, I'm going to look for leg locks here if I have to. I'm going to look for in men's MMA, right? Somebody looking for leg locks will give you a heart attack, because I don't know if you guys watched Gary Tonin versus Ton Lee, but Gary Tonin's an elite leg locker. He went for a leg lock, was in on a entry, got 3 hammer fists, and he is like snoring, looking up at the skies, bad knockout, right? That's the concern when you have somebody say, I'm going to go for a leg lock. What, is Tisha Torres going to knock her out with right hand hammer fists while she's going for the leg lock? I don't see it. So I think that Mackenzie is going to try everything in her power to go for submissions for 15 minutes. And if she does that, I think she's going to submit Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres, I can't find evidence that she's training with grapplers of this level. I've seen her training with purple belts. I've seen her training with some wrestlers, some UFC fighters. Mackenzie Dern's a different level on the ground. It's like, if you're not bringing in the best, I think you're going to have a hard time. She did do a part of her training camp with Rose Namajunas. I think that could only be beneficial to her. And yeah, I think that Mbe, again, just hits the nail on the head there. I don't think Dern's a crazy athlete, but she's extremely skilled in all positions. She does have way more natural power than Tisha, in my opinion. And so let's say she cracks Tisha on the chin. I wouldn't be altogether stunned for a Mackenzie Dern knockout here. I don't think it's a likely scenario at all. But what is to stop her from getting on top of this girl and raining down ground and pound either? You think Tisha's going to get out of her mount? I don't think so. Angela Hill mounted this girl. Like, that's horrible. Like, she was taken down and advanced right to quick positions that are bad. And if that happens here, I don't think Dern lets her off the hook. I'm probably going to play some Dern ITD at plus 200.
Es muy bien. That's the bets I'm looking at too. Well, kind of, technically. They correlate with each other, right? I think that, I'm the nice little middleman. I'm the conservative little Canadian guy. I make money with the finish, and I don't lose money if Torres gets the decision for Phoenix. So there you go. No, I'm just playing. I think it's a fun fight, and I think you hit the nail on the head.
Andrade is tiny, Mbe. I like Andrade too. She's one of my favorite fighters, but she's tiny, just like Tisha. And Mackenzie is not quite that small. I think she's like 5'4". So she's going to be a little bigger here.
All right, let's go. I'm sorry, Phoenix. Let's go Mackenzie Dern inside the distance for us. Sorry, bro. I hate you. I hate to hurt you. I don't hate you, man. It'll be a fun fight, and I'm hoping for some violence here. I think you guys.
And best of luck. Best of luck.
Of course. Let's keep it rolling. It is time for the 3 big fights of the night. It feels like 3 title fights, because I don't think there is a more hyped up fight than this one right here. This is one of the most anticipated matchups of the year of people that just have no idea. I live with a bunch of roommates who don't watch MMA as much as I do, and they are more interested than any other fight in recent memory. He is going to smash everybody. I just love the promos, love what he's doing. He is probably the best thing with the sport because he's so entertaining. How can you not love the guy? It's super fun to watch. But he did one of, if not the biggest steps up in competition of almost all time. Like, it is insane, the level of competition he's going up here. And he's still a favorite. As we stand right now, Gilbert Burns is a bigger underdog than Li Jingliang was in their last fight. Khamzat Chimaev is a guy taking over the world right now, hanging out with Darren Till. See if it's a bad influence. No, I don't think that matters too much. Khamzat Chimaev is the hardest worker I've seen in a long time. I do news articles for current MMA, or I watch social media, and I see him working out everywhere. This guy is fun. He's exciting to watch, and I think he goes out there and he puts a statement win over Gilbert Burns. Am I putting, 5 units on him to win one? No, I'm having some fun. I got a ton of money on the guy because he's so fun to watch, but it is not on the money line. I'm going to let you guys take this one over. If you guys can't tell, I'm on the Smish train. I'm on his DraftKings. I'm always inside the distance. This guy's fun to watch. If there are question marks about him, that is his cardio, his durability, just because no one's tested that. No one knows what it's like going past round 2, round 3, because that smishes everybody. Smish, right? I think I've said that word like 1,000 times in the past week. Anyways, you guys can't tell I'm excited for this one. I'm going to pass it over to you guys first. Liam, let's start with you. Are you taking that huge dog shot on Gilbert Dorino Burns, or are you riding the smash train with me?
No, I'm not taking the shot on Gilbert here. I think that Gilbert, he's got a tough matchup here stylistically. He's got an imposing pressure wrestler that has more power than him on the feet, I would argue. And I know that might be a controversial take, but I've seen, Gilbert Burns land big, hard shots that rock and wobble people, and that's impressive. But I've seen Khamzat Chimaev land shots that put people's face into like weird, twisted, horrible expression. So that's a different level of power. When he knocked out Alaskarov on the regionals, I was like, holy shit. It's one of the worst knockouts you'll ever see, period, in MMA. Bad. Sent his mouthpiece flying and literally contorted his face in a horrifying manner. Watch it. Then Gerald Meerschaert, right? I know everybody loves to dog my man, but everybody was willing to back up that -6, -700 on whoever that guy, Muradov, I think it was, when he was going to fight him. GM3's got no chin. He's got that. And then he comes back and storms back on that guy. So, yeah, I think GM3's the story of his chin being completely shot are greatly exaggerated. And Khamzat Chimaev one-punched him up a weight class. One punch. One. Yes.
Did you see his tweet earlier today?
I did. I retweeted it because GM3 is the man. He says, take a shot for every time they show this video of me getting shadow realmed. And it's impressive, guy. I know it was right after the Heinisch fight, but I still think that was an impressive knockout. So, yes, it's a massive step up in competition. Yes, Chimaev is a bit unproven. No, I'm not laying -5xx on a guy taking on Gilbert Burns. However, I think Chimaev wins. I think he does it early. I think he's going to smash Gilbert. I was interested in the ITD at -175, missed the boat on that, unfortunately, but I did play the under 1.5 rounds here at +105. Khamzat Chimaev has never gone over the betting total. It has never been at plus money in his UFC career. I will take it when I'm given the opportunity. And also, FanDuel Sportsbook has boosted odds on Chimaev to win the fight in round one. Market-wide, this has crashed to +150 and below. It's +200 boosted odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. I played that too for the limit, so.
Hey, guess what, Phoenix? We have access to that. Oh, kind of. They're having some issues with that. We're rolling out Ontario. Eh? They're not letting it go. But anyways, real quick, Liam, you got to confirm this for me. Is Khamzat going to smash or is he going to smash? I think it's smash this weekend.
This is the other thing is a lot of people were running to play the Khamzat KO line, and I get it, but I do think the sub is more live than a lot of other people. And the reason being is because we've seen club and subs before. It doesn't matter how good you are at jiu-jitsu. If somebody wraps a hold around your neck, you're going to tap. And I think that in this case, Khamzat Chimaev's got the length. He's got a big frame. If he takes the back of Gilbert Burns, he's going to have size in ways that people can't really comprehend. How advantageous it could be to have length in a grappling scenario. I do think it could go both ways, right? I heard somebody, I want to say it was my man Dan Tom, make the point that if Gilbert latches on with his small body to one limb, that's a huge, advantageous position, right? Like being the smaller guy on an armbar, you can really exert a ton of weight pressure opportunity there. However, from the back, I just think Chimaev's going to be too much. I think he's going to be able to wrap up Gilbert, throw him every which way but loose. Size is a factor here. And I trust his wrestling-based rides against somebody like Gilbert Burns. I don't think he gets out of position. I think he's going to keep Gilbert in tough spots where he's pressed up against the fence or where he's constricted. I don't think Gilbert's going to have a lot of great opportunities here. And, the longer the fight goes, maybe he finds a way into it. But I also think people are forgetting that Gilbert Burns, his cardio is not very good. His cardio is certainly suspect. We saw him fall off in round 3 against Usman. He definitely opened up too hot there. But we saw round 3 against, Gunnar Nelson. It started to get a little sketchy. He's done this before. I think his run at 170 is a little bit inflated, to be honest with you. Everybody's talking about him like he's the number 2 welterweight on the planet. I don't buy that. I don't think he's the best welterweight in his gym. I think Vicente Luque would house that guy. So I like Vicente Luque. I like Khamzat Chimaev. I like those guys to start rising the ranks. I think Gilbert at 35 years of age is on his way down the welterweight rankings, probably to fill in that gatekeeper role somewhere between 5 and 15. So that's how I view this fight. I like the under 1.5, and I like Chimaev in the first round.
Perfect. Phoenix, smash train.
No, I got Gilbert Burns here. No, I'm kidding, man. No chance. Like I agree with everything that Liam said, man. Like I don't think Gilbert Burns is the number 2 welterweight in the world. I don't even like. He's decent. Like he's got heavy hands. You know, he wobble loose man. He's got good BJJ, but I mean, I just don't. I get people taking shots on him, but like the thing with me is when you have really like hyped prospects that come in as like substantial favorites over proven UFC guys or guys that have been at a higher level of a higher competition, like I want to see an evident weakness or something that can be exploited from the prospect. And I just don't think Kamzat has shown any weakness. Like he's literally been put in the cage and just smashed everybody. Just everybody. He's huge. He has knockout power in his
Smash.
hands. He's got amazing wrestling. Like I am on the comes up by KO train at like plus 165. I hear you. I hear you. I understand that like he could sub him, but it's gonna be something else if he subs Gilbert Burns. I understand he could club and sub him, but like just subbing someone of Gilbert Burns' BJJ caliber would be insane because even if he gets in positions where he knows what to do. He's gonna fight out of those positions. He's not gonna want to be submitted as the BJJ black belt. Like I feel like a whole new level of pride is gonna be kicking out if this guy's trying to submit him. Like, and Kamzat's a guy that like if the sub's not there, okay, I'll just smash you. He just will keep punching you and punch you and punch you and just keep punching you until the ref pulls him off of you. I mean, the guy's incredible. I mean, I don't really know what's gonna happen at the start of the fight though, because Kamzat obviously has knockout power, but do we really know like how like I don't think Gilbert Burns is the guy to present him a kind of a problem in this realm, but like, do we really know how good his striking is? Like, he has power, but you know how how's his defense? I mean, how's his like volume? I mean, I know we saw some of it in the Ikram fight, but like that's not really too much. But like Burns, like I just don't really see what Burns can do to him, man. Like Burns is substantially smaller. Burns' last fight was terrible, horrible fight. If he comes out looking like that on the feet, like he looked horrible on the feet. He wasn't throwing anything. He was getting hurt. He was getting tagged, and he relied on wrestling, which is obviously not going to be able to do here. He's not going to wrestle Chimaev, who's just much bigger than he is. So to me, it's just he's very limited unless he maybe catches him with a sub. Maybe I mean it could happen, but I just don't. I don't think it does. I mean, Kamzat. I mean, I'm no hot take. Like I just think he's the goods. I think he's amazing. I think he's probably one of the best prospects I've seen in a while. He just does everything right. He's always doing the right thing. I mean, he puts himself in good positions. He's active. It looks like he has good cardio for the in terms of keeping a good pace for at least 2 rounds. But I don't know. I don't really see what Burns can really do to him. I actually think that Burns is going to be scared, man. I think Burns is going to take the back foot early. I think he's going to be spooked. I mean, Burns just like his chin isn't there. I mean, I think he can knock him out on the feet. I think if he gets him down, I think he's going to pound him. I don't think the sub presents itself, and I think if it does, like I said before, I don't think Burns gets subbed at a high clip. So I think Chimaev plus 165 KO is the best way to play the fight for me personally. I just think that turning a minus 500 into a plus 150 to KO a guy who's got obvious chin problems, a guy who is much smaller than, and a guy who's a BJJ black belt to defend himself from submissions. I think the KO's solid here.
Hey, bro, I'm with you. I'm okay to admit it. I'm on this I'm on this wave. I do think he's the goods, and I don't care if I'm like riding the hype train. I'm fully prepared to put my foot down and say if Gilbert Burns wins this fight, it's a fluke. Like that. Like I do think that all around better fighter is Chimaev. I think that he's the better wrestler. I think that he's like, of course, Burns is a great guy on the ground, but he's not strong enough to get Chimaev there, in my opinion. I'm with him. I'm riding. Maybe I get a shirt that says "Smesh," the Smeshed ever instead of the Blessed ever. I got to switch from Holloway to Chimaev. But no, I'm excited to see it. Just talking about that fight, get my heart just pumping. I have never been so excited for a fight. That's a lie. I haven't been this excited for a fight in a very, very long time. Like he's just the biggest name. He goes out there, puts on a show. I got a ton of money on it. I like to apologize because I just put out my best bets video for current MMA. And when I edited the video and I finished it up last night, the line was still out there. At the PokerStar Sportsbook that Baby Yoda Bets on Twitter told me about, had Chimaev to finish inside the distance at minus 154. And they've had that lined up every single day of the week until this morning. It is no longer there, unfortunately. Weird. They took the line down like completely. Like there's no inside the distance line for Chimaev. I guess people were steaming it too much, but I'm with them. I got 3 units inside the distance. I got 3 units on him to win, parlayed up from last week. let's go, Chimaev. All aboard the smash train. And moving on, 2 fights left. My heart is racing. Aljamain Sterling 20-3, Piotr Jan 16-2. The co-main event. We cannot forget that illegal knee. Yes, it's been played up. It is wild how things have changed from the first fight. I went out there. I was one of, if not the lucky guys, because of course I had to be on the side of Aljamain Sterling. I obviously missed things. I've been on Sterling. I got a cash bet. I think that is one of the funny moments because I don't know about my buddies earlier, but I made an in-person bet. I had money on Aljo, my Plays and Fades partner, Kira, my roommate, had money on Jan, and he was chirping me the whole time. He's like, "Oh, Jan's kicking his ass. Like, oh, you suck. Like, I'm winning this bet." And of course, I somehow cash and he doesn't. Like, it's iconic. It's a great moment in this Plays and Fades legacy. But there's another fight that's really fun. The line is steamed. Absolutely steamed. I think Sterling, I know Liam's going to talk about it, but Sterling is a bit overlooked. I think on DraftKings, he is very, very live. Not only cap, but also GBP, I think he win just because, it's not like he got, destroyed in the point where he couldn't move. He was competitive. He was losing. There was no question about it. He was losing, but he was competitive. He's working hard. I think he wants this really badly, but I'm excited for it. Do I think Jan wins? Yeah, sorry, Liam, I do. I think Jan is a great fighter. He's able to adapt around the stretch. I think he's strong, got a good base. I think over 5 rounds, he takes over, wins the decision. I have money on Yan 4-5 decision all day. But I think it's close, though I do. And I'm excited for this fight. I think that a lot of people are overlooking it because of that Chimaev fight. And I'm ready to see how it goes down. You'll never see Jan against Sterling at -110 again. All right, let's start off with you, Liam, because I know you got some action on it. Tell us how you are seeing this one.
Man, this is a fight where I'm going to be on Aljamain Sterling's side. And the reason being is simple, right? Aljamain Sterling, last time out, +100, -110, right? Very close to evens. And we have one data point that suggests that Peter Yan is the better fighter, right? Goes out there. Aljo wins the round 2, I think it was, unanimously. He got round 1 on one judge's scorecard. So the guy had some success. It's not uncommon that we see Peter Yan opponents have some early success, rounds 1, rounds 2. He starts to take over the fights as they go on. And I do think over the course of 5 rounds, he's probably the most difficult guy to beat in the division, right? You see that, number 1, he can build. Number 2, he's got solid cardio. Number 3, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. He's got skills in all positions. So for those reasons, not going to be an easy guy to beat. But I don't need to be easy if it's +370. Right now, I just need paths. And I see paths for Aljamain Sterling, right? Number 1, we know that this guy can win rounds. He's done it. He's done it by out-voluming Yan. He's done it by putting a lot of stuff in his face, filler volume. We've also seen that he tried to mix in his wrestling, his takedowns. I thought he looked weak as shit. I thought he looked physically weak in his last fight. Couldn't get anything going. When he got to locks, he was getting thrown all over the place. I don't think we see that again. If we do, I'm just dead wrong. All right. So period. If we see Aljo just getting thrown every which way but loose trying to grapple, okay, then I just had a bad read here. But when I look at Aljo grappling a lot of solid guys, a lot of guys that can wrestle, a lot of guys that can grapple in the UFC, he does quite well, right? In a lot of those fights, I don't think he's a poor wrestler. I don't think he's a poor grappler. And then when I also look and I see we have a known unknown, that's what I'm calling it all week, which is Aljamain Sterling got neck surgery, right? He's been absent. He hasn't been fighting. We've seen Peter Yan go out there and beat up Corey Sandhagen, and now everybody's like, this is the best fighter we've ever seen. A lot of those same people were betting on Corey Sandhagen, to be clear. But that being said, we can now look and say, okay, maybe the best guy in the division. He's got a massive price tag against the guy who we all agreed 1 year ago was the clear number 1 contender after submitting Sandhagen in the first round, right? So Sandhagen goes out there, has a fun fight, stand-up kickboxing war, gets beat up over the course of the 25 minutes by the end of it. But that was a somewhat competitive fight, especially in the early going. Now we're saying that the guy who clearly dispatched Sandhagen easily, that guy has no chance. He's got even less of a chance than Corey. Why? He didn't show that he can't compete on the feet. He showed that he can potentially compete on the feet, especially early. And then we also saw that, okay, if it's not on the feet, what does he have to do? Aljamain Sterling is, simply put, one of the most opportunistic back takers in the sport. When he took Corey's back, he instantly pulled him down and finished him. And that was the fight. And he choked him unconscious too. So it's like a guy who tapped also went unconscious. Like Aljo's got a hell of a damn squeeze. I think that this is a fight where he can win by submission. I think this is a fight where he can win by taking the first 3 rounds here, by pacing himself a little bit better, by trying to make this a competitive fight rather than a fight where he comes out and just dominates by putting on the volume. I thought he paced himself poorly last time. So when I look at this fight, I say, who can make improvements from one fight to the next? I mean, Jan put on a pretty damn great performance. He just needs to not make mistakes that cost him the fight in terms of DQ, making a lapse in error, a judgment like that. Okay, what else can he improve? You know, it's like the guy's very good. You know, what's he going to do better in this fight? He's going to do what he normally does, or he's going to deviate from the game plan, which is what he's saying he's going to do. He's saying, I'm going to come after him. I'm going to get in his face. I'm going to hit him like right from the opening bell. I'm going to stay on him. I'm going to knock him out early. That would sound like a change in game plan that I don't know if it behooves him. I don't know why he would change anything. Frankly, hang back, win the last 3 rounds, finish this guy late. That would be the clearest path to victory, right? We've seen Aljo slow down in 3-round fights. But if he's going to come out like a bat out of hell, then it becomes a much more winnable fight for Aljo as well. You know, I don't see why that would benefit Jan's style. He's the better 5-round fighter. He's the guy with more experience doing that. And he says, I want to come out and storm him early. That seems foolish, to be honest. So I want to see how this actually plays out. I'm not saying that Aljo's a lock. I'm not saying that he's the better fight. I'm saying I've got one guy who's moved in the market price very significantly. I was interested the first time at evens, and now we know that he had neck surgery, so he either is going to come back looking worse or potentially looking much better. Every coach, every teammate that I heard interviewed said this dude had a poor ability to train because he couldn't deal with his neck. Every 2 days, it was like, I don't know, my neck's fucked up today. I can't. So he was having to limit his training opportunities and change the way he trained for fights and prepared as a result of his injury. Now he had a full training camp, 12 weeks, 6 weeks at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, 6 weeks at Sarah Longo MMA in New York. I just don't think that this guy is a freaking scrub. I don't think he's a plus 370 dog to anybody in the division. And I think he's going to make this fight competitive. I would not be stunned if he won the first 2 rounds here. And I think Aljo's going to come out looking better than he has in his previous fights. I thought last time was the worst look he might have ever had in the UFC in terms of both pacing, comfort on the feet, all sorts of things. Now he's had the time in there with the guy. He didn't get rocked on every punch or something. So I think Aljo's going to carry in some degree of confidence, having won some rounds, having won some minutes against this guy when he felt weak, when he didn't feel like himself. I like everything I've heard from him leading up to this fight. So if he loses, if he gets smashed, it is what it is. I have some personal biases that are, itching me in this fight as well. I'm a D3 wrestler. I'm a guy who came up in the Gracie system of jiu-jitsu. I'm a New Yorker. So, yeah, goddamn right, I'm rooting for Aljamain Sterling personally. I don't care about the Ruskies. I don't want him to win. God bless if Peter Yan does win. He's a fine fighter. Nothing against him. But I also think that he deserved to lose the last time, guys. He cheated, and he did it, obviously. He did it right in front of the ref. That's what happened. So I think that, hopefully he doesn't make any stupid decisions this time. And let's get a good fight. Let's get both these guys out there and find out who's the real deal.
For sure. Great breakdown. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I know we still got Phoenix's opinion to go over. But I like the shot. Putting your foot down, letting everybody know. I do think the line's extremely wide. I'm playing a ton of Sterling on DraftKings, and for that reason, I don't think I want to play money line anyways, but I like it. All right, Phoenix, your turn. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the line is wide as well. I don't have as much in it, but what I do have in actually is I have the fight goes to decision at evens, like minus 115, and I have Yan by decision at like plus 145. Honestly, I actually think this fight hits the cards at pretty decent clip. Honestly, I think Yan saying he's going to come out and smash him. Yan is a guy that to me that doesn't fight with emotions. He could come out there and maybe he hates this guy so much that he does that, but I don't think he does. He's a guy, to me, he seems like a guy who's very process driven. He knows what he does. He knows he fights the same way every time. But I also think we're going to see a much better Aljamain Sterling. Like, it's easy to say, oh, Peter Yan breaks him late. Oh, like we should know by now that no fight in a rematch ever plays out the same, ever. It doesn't happen. So I do think Aljamain's going to look much better. Liam obviously brought up a lot of good points. It's just, to me, I don't think Sterling's finish record is honestly too high. I understand that he's so dangerous if he gets your back, and he's so opportunistic in that regard. But, I mean, I think Yan is just a very solid defensive grappler. Like, I really do. I think he's always aware. I think he's the stronger of the two. I think he's got very good technique on how to defend. He knows what he's doing. He understands the threat. And Sterling's not going to knock out Yan. Like, I don't think that happens at a high clip at all. I think Sterling's path to victory is to fight exactly like he did last time at a slower pace. I think he was doing fine. He was just expending way too much energy. He was getting way too aggressive. I like throwing everything, like way overcommitting to the takedown. I think he was having a lot of success striking. And like Yan is a guy who it's not overly like if you don't get knocked down, he loses rounds. Like the Jimmy Rivera fight, he lost every one of those rounds if you take out the knockdown. Obviously, you can't take out the knockdowns. But one of my point is that he was outvolumed in every one of those rounds. Like Yan is a guy who wins rounds based on knocking people down because he's just got that power. So I can easily see Sterling winning 3 rounds. And Sterling's a guy, like, we're saying, like, oh, Sterling's cardio is going to crash. Like, besides that fight, Aljamain Sterling's got some of the best cardio in that division. Like, he's putting out 150 plus strikes consistently, moving all the time. I just think a huge part of why he gassed so much is because he just was overcommitting to the wrestling attempts and he just kept going. He couldn't get them down. And obviously, that was the worst Aljamain Sterling we've ever seen. Now he's in better shape. He's obviously got the surgery done. And, he knows he can't go out there and fight the same way like he did last time. But Aljamain Sterling's a pretty good volume striker. The problem I have with Aljamain, the reason that I'm not going to back him here, is just I understand what you're saying. Like if like a lot of people are saying like if Corey didn't beat him, how Alger's going to beat him. But if Aljamain can't get the grappling going, like I kind of see it like that. Like I think Corey Sandhagen on the feet is just better than Aljamain. They're very similar, but Corey's just better. Like I think he's better rangy fighter. I think he better striker overall. I think he's more dynamic on the feet as well. So that's just kind of how I view it personally.
I wish we had that one play out, my man. I wish we had that one play out for longer.
Yeah, I'd love to see those guys run it back because Corey's my guy. I love Corey. I really hope, he's been.
I bet him last time too.
Yeah, he was looking super good in that fight too. I mean, especially I thought he won the first 2 rounds personally. I thought it was 48-47. And, I think he was winning one of the other rounds before he got knocked down too. So again, one of those situations. I love Corey. I'm a huge Corey guy, but I also don't think Yan's going to finish Sterling. I really don't. I mean, Yan, I don't think he has a finish since 2017. Sterling's in great shape. Is that true? Besides the last one, I don't think he has.
Can he finish Aldo or no?
Oh, he did finish Aldo. You're right. But apart from
that one, actually was a late stoppage too. He should have finished that in like round 3 or 4. He was brutalizing Aldo. That was like a pool of his own blood. Corner should have stopped it.
Yeah, agreed. But I guess just my point is, I mean, Aljo's in better shape. I mean, Aljo ate a clean right from Yan. He took it. He got back up, and I just think that I think he's a durable fighter in general. And I think he can go 25 minutes. I don't think he's going to be easy to finish. I think, both of these guys are not going to want to be finished by the other ones. And, honestly, obviously Yan could have finished him last fight, but who's to say that fight wasn't going to go to decision? Like, obviously Sterling was gassed. Sterling was kind of falling. He could have definitely been finished, but he also could have not been finished. Like, it's not to say that, Yan would have finished him in round 5. Like, that's not necessarily true. I mean, Sterling was gassed, but he was still coming. It wasn't like he was falling over per se, and it wasn't like he was, like, hanging on a thread. I mean, he was still trying. It just nothing was effective. So I think Yan wins. I respect the shot on Sterling. I think he's going to come in with a smarter game plan. I definitely think the fight's going to play out closer than the line suggests. I think Sterling's going to have some success. I think good chance he wins the early rounds. But I like the fight goes to decision, honestly, and I like Yan by decision. I think the line should be a bit wider, should be a bit tighter for that personally. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm seeing it.
You know what I thought was interesting too, Phoenix, just to build on what you're saying, is like if you think this fight goes over and you think it goes the distance, and like you mentioned, you think Aljo certainly has a chance of winning a round in this fight, +5.5 on Aljamain Sterling, +190.
Oh, for the scorecard spread?
+5.5 on the scorecard. So basically that's like Aljo doesn't get finished or loses every round or gives up 10-8. It's like,
do you know where that's offered?
Kind of interesting.
Can I hit that?
I definitely have that on Bet Online. I'm not sure what other sites offered that, and it might have moved since I was looking, but that was something
I'm not as familiar with those kind of things, so I've never had access. So that's just Sterling has to lose, like if he gets 50-40 forward, then the bet fails, right? It's just
Exactly. That's correct. And I did have this same ticket at a worse number. I think it was like plus 135 on Masvidal, plus 5.5, and he gave up 110-8 round. I was fucking pissed.
so. What are the methods for that? Not actually, we can talk about this after. We'll keep the show moving.
All right, we got
Sounds
one
good,
fight
buddy.
left too, but I like all your points, I like your takes. I think Sterling is a great play on DraftKings because he's got such a low salary. But the way I look at it is pretty simple. I think that Jan's got great hips. I don't see him being taken down too often. And I think that the only way that you can give Sterling the ability to win rounds against him is if a lot of volume, a lot of pressure. And in doing so, I think he tires himself out in the later rounds. It's tough for me because, like, of course, a finish is there for anybody. It's an MMA fight. But we talk about who's going to win minutes on the feet, especially if Aljamain can't get him down. And if he can't sustain that same pressure over the course of 5 rounds, Jan's going to take over. I'd like the 4-5 decision. I played that at minus 170. Sure, juiced, don't care. I think it happens. I like the stab, though. I have a lot of Aljamain Sterling on DraftKings. I honestly hope it goes to decision as well. So good luck to you guys in your bets, and let's keep it rolling with the final fight of the night. We have the 21-0, should be 22-2. Alexander Volkanovski, Chan Sung Jung, 17-6. And before I break this down, let me just say I'm wearing a Max Holloway shirt. I think Max Holloway won the second fight, but that's out of the way. Let's talk about the two fighters that are actually fighting. This line is steamed. Like, it's so wide. Do I agree that Volkanovski should win this fight? Yeah, but what's happening is these 3 big guys in the fights are being parlayed. Actually, I was talking to Phoenix about this. So in Ontario, they made you void every single bet when they switched everything over. So I had so much CLV. I had the 3 of them parlayed up together at plus money, and is now gone. So I didn't track on BetMMA tips, but that is so sad. Anyways, point being is, I don't think that Korean Zombie wins this fight. I don't think he should be favored, but this line is extremely wide. Volkanovski, whereas he's a great, well-rounded fighter, I don't see many holes in his game. He's facing a new opponent here in the Korean Zombie, who's a guy who's also smart, who's got good power in his hands, and is one of the most powerful opponents he fought in a while. I'm going to keep this short. Whereas I think Volkanovski wins this fight a large majority of the time. The major win criteria for Korean Zombie, in my opinion, is to finish him. He's the hardest hitting fighter that Volkanovski's fought in a long time. Volkanovski hasn't stumbled before. Plus 1,000 on certain books for Volkanovski, for the Korean Zombie to win inside the distance. I took a small half unit shot on that. Do I think Volk wins? Yes. Am I playing in DraftKings? 100% yes. But win criteria is the Korean Zombie finish, in my opinion. I'm going to let this one go to Phoenix first. What are your thoughts on this one, my friend?
Yeah, I was surprised. All I've been seeing on Twitter is just fight doesn't go to decision, unders, Volk by KO. And I'm kind of on the other side. I think I played Volk by unanimous decision plus 115, I think, something like that. The decision line was like minus 140, and the unanimous was like plus 110. I don't think Volk wins this by decision at a high clip. Like, I think he made a lot of good points with the fight too. I think Zombie's main winning condition is to find a finish. I don't think he wins a decision. And like, I know Volkanovski, like, I see a lot of people, like, when I was talking, saying that, like, oh, Volk almost finished Ortega last time. Oh, Ortega's so durable. He almost finished Ortega. Like, that fight dynamic is just not the same. Like, Volk, if you look at the first 3 rounds prior to the submission attempts, that fight was going to decision. There wasn't even a fight. There wasn't even any shots that Volk was throwing that really, like, I think he had one shot that really stumbled Ortega a little bit, but other than that, the fight was looking like he was cruising to a decision. And then he gets stuck in in a guillotine, and then he just starts pounding him. Like, he just starts pounding him on the ground. He's mad, he's getting aggressive. And then from there, like, Ortega was already kind of broken because, Volk he was more gassed. Volk's got good ground and pound, but that's not going to happen in this fight. Zombie's not going to go, like, I don't see that same dynamic. I think a lot of it's going to play out on the feet. I think Zombie's got good takedown defense. Volk does have some decent wrestling. I can't see him maybe getting a couple takedowns in there. I do think Zombie will get back up. Zombie have fight ready, training with Cejudo. I know it's not overly long, but I do think he'll make some improvements there potentially. So I think the fight primarily plays out on the feet. And, Zombie is durable. I don't know why people are acting like Zombie is not durable. I mean, I get Ortega knocked him down twice, but the left hand was more of like an off balance in my opinion, and the elbow was like on the temple, like, and he got up and he was fine. He wasn't rocked. He got knocked down, he got back up, he was fine. It wasn't like he was in seeing stars or anything. Like, maybe he had a momentarily lapse of that, but he came back. So I think that, and I don't really rate Volk's power. I get his hands, He does have some sort of heavy hands, but I don't know. Like all of his strikes on the feet, they're not really power strikes. Like his left hook, okay. His right hand off the left hook, not bad. His 3-2, like they're decent, but they're not something that I would expect him to like ground Zombie with. Like I think if Zombie's gonna, I think if Volk is gonna finish this fight, it's gonna be late. I think it's gonna be attritional damage. Maybe the leg kicks add up because I do think he's gonna land a lot of leg kicks here, but I don't think it's a high probability that he like flatlines him on the feet. I really don't. Like I was considering maybe hedging out because I saw so many people in the fight doesn't go to decision. I started watching breakdowns. They made sense, but I think I'm gonna let it ride. I just think that getting plus money on a Volk decision is a good price. I get that he wants to find the finish, but at the end of the day, there just hasn't really been on the feet many opportunities where he's almost got his opponents out of there at too high of a clip. I mean, his finish on Mendez was completely gassed. So I don't really rate that. I think Zombie will be there for 25 minutes. I do think something interesting about the fight that not a lot of people have brought up this week is the fans. I mean, Zombie historically has been one of those guys that like thrives off the fans. Like he loves it. He said it himself. And we haven't seen Zombie in front of fans for a while. I mean, since the Yair fight, right? Like Ortega, Ige, like these didn't have fans in there. So I do think that may add a little bit more of a dynamic. I think Zombie will be a bit more aggressive. And I agree with you. I think Zombie, his path to victory is going to be a knockout, in my opinion, as well. Volk, did get knocked down by Holloway twice. He was, he's been hurt before. He got dropped by Mendez, but his recoverability is elite. Like his chin, he can get hurt, but his recoverability is just off the charts. Like he recovers instantly as well. And I think Zombie has that kind of recoverability as well. Also, I honestly think that Volk wins the decision like at least 55-60% of the time here. I like the plus money. I'm going to fade I've seen everybody on the fight doesn't go to decision. So I'm going to fade that. I'm going to take Volk by decision. I think he rolls. If I had to pick one guy on the whole slate to get it done, it would be Volk. I just think, he's such a complete fighter. He doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. But to your point, I do think that when Volk finally takes that first L, he's going to get flatlined. I don't think a lot of people in the world beat Volk over 25 minutes. I think I think Volk's the best fighter in the world. I think he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world. But when he does lose, I think he's going to get knocked out pretty cleanly. But hard not to back him here. And I just think that, sure, I think the fight's going to be intense, but I rate Zombie's durability. I rate Zombie's ability to keep coming forward. Zombie's not a quitter. I think it'll be a great fight. I think all three of these fights are going to be awesome. I think Yan, Sterling, and Volk, Zombie are both going to be wars. But I'm going to take Volk by decision at plus money here.
All right. And with that, we are done. The UFC 273 breakdown. Of course, I just skipped you about that. We are not done yet. We got Liam, the GOAT. Tell us how you're playing this main event.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have to because me and my man Phoenix, unfortunately, are going to disagree here. We're going to agree that Volk gets the job done, but I am one of these people that's on the inside the distance here, and I'm going to give you my argument for why. When I look at the guys that have troubled, excuse me, the Zombie, it's guys that can outpace him. And what happened is I actually thought that Ortega fight might have been a fight that Zombie could win, right? I was pretty big on Zombie pre-fight there. One of the worst bets I've ever made. In fairness, I think I had 5 units on Zombie at like minus 185 or something. So I think I beat the closing line, but he gets effed up in that fight. And when I watch it back, I say to myself, man, number one, Zombie looked a little despondent there. Number two, it was the stance switching that really threw him off. The guy likes to be able to counter you. If you're stance switching constantly, every time I stance switch, the options, the targets, the availability changes. So Volk is a constant stance switcher. I think that's going to give Zombie a lot of problems lining up his counters and finding the right shots. I think it's going to make him overthink at times which shots he should try and pull to land on him. That being said, what I look at is I say Volk can keep a good pace for 25 hard minutes. I haven't seen that from Zombie, right? And guys that have enforced that hard pace on him have put a little bit of doubt in his mind. Zombie has been scheduled for 25 minutes a ton of times, but he's normally either knocking the guy out in the first round or getting picked apart as the fight goes on. And Dan Ige is, in all fairness, not the guy, right? He's not the guy who's going to, really challenge Zombie because Zombie was able to just bail out, go to his wrestling, go to his grappling, and out-grapple Dan Ige pretty seamlessly there. So is he going to be able to out-grapple Volkanovski as seamlessly? No, I don't think so. I think Volk is, number one, too low in his center of gravity. Number two, the guy's got good wrestling and counter wrestling. I've seen him taken down and get right back up, get back in on his own wrestling from his butt. The guy has a indomitable will and spirit. And I think you see Zombie, he's up there on the stage, he's smiling, he's happy to be there, he's excited. And Volk is not. He is there to do a job. He is fucking mean. The guy is a consummate competitor. You watch the guy compete, and after he wins a round, he'll yell in your face. Like the guy will be like, ah! And he is, I'm telling you, man, one of the more intense competitors I've seen in any sport. I watch a lot of combat sports. The guy is not going to give you a free inch in a fight. And when he got knocked down by Chad Mendes, a lot of people talked about this week. They didn't talk about the fact that he got back up. It's like he basically gets flash knocked down to his butt, pops right back up, and throws in the pocket with Chad Mendes and hurts him and knocks him out. That's what happened. So if you guys are forgetting, go back and watch it. Chad Mendes drops him. He gets back up. He gets back in Chad's face and knocks him out. So this is a guy who's not going to give you a free inch. Yeah, maybe Zombie knocks him out. That's what he has to do. I have money on the fight not to go the distance because I think that covers Zombie's best path, but I'm also going to be on Volk to win this fight inside the distance. Granted, I crushed this line, guys. I'm going to be honest. I hit this at plus 220. It's down to like plus 150, plus 160, plus 170. So I wouldn't play it now. I would love it at that plus 220 figure. People are playing the knockout right now, plus 200. So I think that I got a great number. And on top of that, right, the fight not to go the distance. Again, it covers Zombie's #1 win equity. And on top of that, I think Volk's going to finish. I think his pace is going to be too much. I think if Zombie wants to win, he's going to have to try and come out and storm him early and hopefully spend a lot of that energy. Volk has said, I won't be satisfied with a win. I will only be satisfied with a finish. I believe when he says that, I believe him. Also, look at who he's been fighting, guys. How the fuck do you finish Max Holloway? You have to bring a gun. It's not happening. The guy got hit with clean shots to the chin, to the face against Yair Rodriguez. The same shots that put down Zombie, by the way. Same shots. Zombie got fucked up by Yair Rodriguez. I remember thinking Zombie had this fight in the bag, whatever. Yair was not very high output there. His cardio was falling off a cliff, and he still knocked him out in the 5th. I thought that was not a good look for Zombie as well. I think that Zombie absorbed too much damage over the course of his career. He's been in a lot of blood and guts fights. Granted, he showed some improved fight IQ against Dan Ige, where he wasn't as willing to get in those murderous like heat-on-heat exchanges like he normally is. But I think if he does that with Volk, he's getting knocked out. So I like Volkanovski. I like him to win inside the distance. I think he has a path to finish in multiple ways in every round in the fight. I like Volk here.
And now we are done. The UFC 273 breakdown. I appreciate you guys joining me on what was a beautiful card and a 2-hour breakdown that was filled with knowledge and everything else because it's been a while. So now my mind's kind of fried, but that's okay because we're going to recharge. I have to get on the ice in a few minutes here, go play some hockey for a bit. So DraftKings wise, I have a video out in my channel. You can go check that out. If you want to know any lineups, anything I'm playing, DM me on Twitter. I will answer them at 4 p.m. when I'm off the ice. Do you guys want to know anything more in terms of what I'm betting? I posted all my plays and I posted a best bets video on current MMA. I will tweet that out shortly, but enough about me. I was joined today by two absolute beauties. They gave the great takes and I was very excited to have them, and I'll definitely have them on again in the future, but I need you guys to go show them some love. First up, Liam, tell them where they can find you.
Absolutely. Happy to do so. So I will be found everywhere at LiamPicksFights. That's on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram as well. I do premium picks for scoresandodds.com. If you're ever interested, you can find them on their website. Typically, I'm writing main event previews. This week, I was on vacation in Miami, but right back at that next week for my friends at Roto Grinders as well. And I'm excited. I'm going to be putting out a video probably in the next day or two about 5 more lessons I've learned betting on MMA so far. And yeah, I said once I get to 1,200 subscribers, I put that out. Did hit that while I was on vacation. So thank you to everybody who supports me. Always greatly appreciated. And right back to work. Whether we win, lose, or draw tonight, that's always the motto. And that's how we play it. So far, so good this year. You can also find my work, my picks at betmma.tips/Liam Heslin. And doing quite well in the year, but coming off a big loss. So excited to get back to work and hopefully get back on that winning track tonight.
Liam, hardest working in the game, also the kindest. I can say that for a fact because I did meet you last week, and pleasure once again. Maybe I was just a bad luck charm being there in person. I hope you bounce back this week. Just good luck, man. Everything except for that Vandera decision. Give me some violence there. All right, Phoenix, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, you can just find me, Phoenix_MMA on Twitter. I post all my bets there with a written breakdown, usually about a page or two of notes. And yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Great talking fights with you boys. Hoping to start April off with a bang and some good net of fights.
Perfect. Well, I will be texting you boys during it. I really look forward to the fights. Again, guys, show some love. Hit the like button to allow. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I was supposed to do a giveaway, but I didn't reach 200 followers until this video. So maybe I'll do a giveaway next week instead, because that was the one condition. Hopefully we'll get you going with that. Liam, here is your public service announcement. Make sure you submit your Ironman lineup. You have money to win, man. You can do it. I appreciate you guys for joining me on the channel. If you guys want to know more about my work, again, Gordo Gambles on Twitter. Check that out. DMs are open if you guys want to talk fights, and let's make some money, guys. Cheers and good luck